on in this season of upset unbeatens. No one can forget the impact that Colorado had early on when they upset Oklahoma. So this is a team that, well, last week, as Ed Cunningham told us, may have played a little tight. But as I watched them in warm-ups today, they have gotten rid of that tightness. It has been replaced by a scent and a feel to try and upset Kansas. One thing to remember, guys, Kansas has traveled an aggregate of 80 miles in their first 5 games. This is the longest road trip and the first one they've done on an airplane. We'll have to wait and see, won't we?
Okay, Jackaroo, what a magnificent day here in Boulder, Colorado. Although the weathercast for around midnight tonight is heavy snow in the area. Don't forget you're at over 5,300 feet above sea level. Could make a difference come the fourth quarter. 68 degrees right now, and the wind is going to be a factor. Gusting today, maybe as high as 30.
Well, we just talked about the upset of Oklahoma. Coach Mangino knows that his team has to be in this in the fourth quarter. It's going to be a tough game, but that elevation really wore out Oklahoma. Let's see if Kansas can hang in there.
And on the near side of the field, you know him from Boise State and an outstanding job up there. Now in his second year, here is the head man at Colorado, is Dan Hawkins. Kansas won the toss and has elected to receive, which I think speaks volumes about what they think about their offense. I just talked about the wind, and we're going to have to bring a holder, I believe, up to get the ball because it has just been blown off the tee. Tyler Cope is the man who prepares to kick it off, and there it goes again. It's been blown off, and now trotting in from the corner. He will get some help, and we will get a hold of that's Gardner McKay.
Oh, they switched, and now Benjamin Burney's going to come out.
Okay, so what is happening is with this huge front that is coming in that's supposed to drop a lot of snow in the mountains, this is what is preceding that front, and the winds, they said, could gust up to 30 and better today. Here's the kick, and we're underway. And this is going to go into the end zone. Well, now let's take a look at the Kansas starting offense. Here is Brandon McAnderson.
The University of Kansas offense this afternoon will be led by super sophomore quarterback Todd Reeson, a.k.a. T.O. Double Trouble, a.k.a. the Fun Slinger. He'll be passing the ball to our receiver, Marcus Henry. They call him Mute, we call him Mutation. And up front, leading the big uglies, we got Anthony Mama's Gotta Eat Collins, moving people around.
Well, thanks very much, Brandon. We will see Brandon a lot this afternoon. He's listed as a fullback, but also a tailback in short yardage situations. Jake Sharp is the tailback right now, and Reesing will throw on first down, and it's a shovel pass that goes to Sharp, and he goes out over the 25 to the 30, and that could be a first down on the very first play. Now let's take a look at the Colorado defensive starters. Here's Mason Crosby.
The defensive lineup for University of Colorado starts up front with our big guys, the big uglies, George Hippolyte and Brandon Nicholas. Starting with our linebackers, it's Jordan Dizon. He's the front runner for me for the Butkus Award. And then our secondary, we got Terrence Wheatley. He's covering everybody and lighting it up. I look for him to have a big day today.
Terrence Wheatley, an extremely good athlete, also a return guy, huge hole, and it is Jake Sharp who bolts his way through there, and they almost picked up back-to-back first downs with that run right there.
And Sharp, the guy you mentioned, Brandon McAnderson, will come in listed as kind of the fullback tailback at 235 pounds. Sharp is the guy who comes in when they want to change the speed of the game at 190 pounds. This is a very fast young man. An excellent job in the middle, but that was a completely missed tackle by Jordan Dizon, which you don't expect out of the nation's leading tackler.
Kansas very deliberate when they get to the line of scrimmage. They will come, you see, now he is looking toward the bench, getting his signal on what play they want him to run. And he moves forward and possibly with an audible to the offensive line, and they just have received a delay of game. Ed, talk about that. We see a lot of teams now doing the check with me. But this also is, you can become a casualty as far as check with me is concerned.
Well, you have to be, it's just like when you're a quarterback. If your quarterback's making the call, you have to be decisive. Well, with the check with me, they wait for the defense to line up, and then the coach up in the booth sends down another play based on what defense they see. And that time, Kansas just was not decisive on what they wanted to run.
Todd Reesing with the second down and about 6. Hands it off to Sharp, and Sharp going to be hit behind the line of scrimmage and knocked down after a half yard by Nicholas. Let's go down to the sidelines and Jackaroo.
Hey, Ron, a reporter recently asked Todd Reesing what it would take to shake his confidence, and he looked up and he said nothing. I saw it firsthand just moments ago. You saw Ralphie making his traditional run. Todd Reesing was asked to back away so that Ralphie would have a clear sailing down into his trailer. Reesing refused. He stared the Buffalo down.
Well, we'll see if he can do that 60 minutes in game time from exactly. Into the ball game is number 10, Kerry Meyer, who also is the former starting quarterback for the Jayhawks. Reesing going to run it 35-40, and he scoots out of bounds at around the 43-yard line. Terrence Wheatley came up to make the fine defensive play, but it is another first down for the Kansas Jayhawks.
Well, one of the things you notice right away with Reesing is he doesn't get panicked. He talks about his confidence not being shook, but he does not panic. That time, nothing was open. Good protection by the offensive line. He looked at 4 different receivers before he decided to run.
Well, now they got a stack of 3 receivers to the top of your screen. It's Spine who comes in motion, the tight end, and they pitch it back, and here comes a reverse, and they feed it back inside. Nicely done on the defensive end as Dexter Fields got the ball, and they just forced him right back inside, which is just how the defense is supposed to work.
Yeah, and when you have a guy like Jordan Dizon, the nation's leading tackler, he is such an active guy. Stayed home. He was a running back in high school and runs very, very well. He stayed home the whole time, and that was a nice effort to not give up lost yardage by Fields.
Well, again, Kerry Meyer and the ball game, and he is the man who is right there that it just circled. Obviously, he can throw the ball, but they use him to catch it, but they throw it to Sharp coming the other way, and Colorado is going to force a 3rd down and almost 10 as Dizon is there to make the tackle.
Statistically, this is Kansas, one of the best teams in the country on both offense and defense. A lot of people around the country saying they had a soft early schedule. They played a lot of softies out of conference, but they still put up big numbers. They found a running game. They have Reesing being able to go down the field, but now 3rd and long, Colorado with 3-man line may bring a blitz off the corner somewhere up top.
Cantrell over the football, 3rd down. They need to take it to the 47. Gets by 1 tackler, still running, going to be stopped well short of the first down. Jeff Smart, number 45. The middle linebacker is the guy who came in to make the tackle, and it forces a punt. And we'll tell you one thing about Tucker. Regardless of this win, this punter is very, very good as far as hanging the ball high. It is an excellent kick to cover.
Nice job by Colorado defensively. 2 pass plays in a row. Reesing had nowhere to go. The coverage was absolutely perfect.
Now a timeout has been called by Colorado. So we'll be back. No score. Colorado, when we return, we'll see them on offense. TV. So Tucker prepares to punt. Young man hit a little bit of a slouch we were talking about during the timeout, but has worked on his steps and also how high he hits the ball. And actually he hits it rather high, but in practice was just booming it out of sight. See if he can duplicate that. Driving spiral. McBride is going to let it go over his head, and it'll go into the end zone. 53 yards in a kick. And now let's take a look at the Colorado starting offense. Here once again is Mason Crosby.
Starting lineup for the Colorado Buffaloes. It all starts with our quarterback, Cody Hawkins. He's handing off to a talented running back, Hugh Charles. Our offensive line is led by senior Tyler Columbus and my favorite, girthy Daniel Sanders at center.
Girthy. It's a nice way to put it.
Yeah, that's a nice way to put it.
Well, there's
Daniel's
another guy.
Junior out of Vista, California. And here comes that offense sprinting out over the football. And Daniel Sanders is ready to snap. Pitch goes back to Charles. Cuts it back inside. And is going to have 3 very tough yards, maybe 4. And now let's take a look at the Kansas defensive starters. Here is Aqib Talib.
I got the Kansas Jayhawks defensive starters for the day. Up front, you got James McClellan, J-Mac, a.k.a. the Reverend. Second level, you got the three-headed monsters, led by Joe Crack. Back deep is Showtime. You got PAT, Patrick Resby, the H-Town hard hitter.
So on second down, checking into the contest is Kendrick Celestine, but they throw the ball. Good for the first down out at the 32-yard line, and that is Dusty Sprague. And let's take a look at the Dell X Factor. Ed?
Well, these teams come in on polar opposites as far as turnovers go. For Colorado, they are one of the worst in the country in turnover margin. And for the Kansas Jayhawks, if you want to know why they're 6-0 and playing so well, not only are they one of the best in the country in turnover margin at 1.5 per game gained, but they're also the least penalized team in the country. So Colorado cannot get, like they did last week against Kansas State, behind in the turnover game.
Gear, the tight end, was the man in motion. And this running play is going to go for short yardage again to Charles, as Talib is there on the stop. And Reese Davis, let's check with you for the first time today. How's it going?
Knocked off number 6, South Carolina.
All righty, here we come on an end around. And that is Patrick Williams, and Williams going to be stopped finally at what is the first down mark out at the 43-yard line. By the way, Reese Davis, and also to Ed Cunningham and Jackaroo, you know, I wonder when Tebow is going to be credited a 2-point jump look rather than a touchdown. He has done that several times this year.
The thing that has impressed me so much about Tim Tebow, you watched him last year. I had huge concerns about him being a drop-back quarterback. They worked on his mechanics. There was a great piece on Game Day a couple of weeks ago how they shortened his throwing motion. He's become a very efficient quarterback. You expected that, but he's become really good in the pocket.
Barron's the fullback, and he is going to be hit immediately as he gets the handoff. It'll go for no gain. Second down and 10. And let's go down to Jackaroo.
Yesterday, you guys, you know, we had a chance to visit with offensive coordinator Mark Helfrich, and I asked him what the 3 keys to winning today were for his offense. He said quite simply and very straightforwardly, 1, they've got to establish the run. 2, they've got to convert on third downs. And as the X factor that you showed us, Ed, they've got to eliminate those turnovers.
You know, I'll tell you what, last week, 3 interceptions, the ball over the head of the quarterback, and then a block punt, and it's hard to beat anybody in league play when you have 5 turnovers. Short drop, Hawkins, in and out of the hands of Scotty McKnight. Scotty, I think, trying to run before he caught the football.
And they threw that to the side of Aqib Talib. And when talking to Helfrich, the offensive coordinator, said we cannot let him take away a half of the field. We are going to have to throw on that side, but that ball a little behind McKnight. 3
touchdown passes have been thrown against KU this year. All of them have gone over him.
Well, he's very aggressive, and at the next level, they'll have to start working on. Sometimes you're not going to be able to make a play on the ball, so they will take some shots at him.
Byron Ellis, a senior out of Culver City, California, number 27, comes in at tailback. Gonna run, closes up in a hurry, fights his way to the midfield stripe. James Holt is there defensively, and it is now punting time for the Buffaloes.
Well, this is part of the learning curve for a young quarterback. Hawkins needs to know, with that much to gain for the first down, that he's not going to be able to get there. They were in zone coverage. Kansas was in zone coverage, so everyone's watching the quarterback. As soon as he breaks, he's got to know they're coming towards him. He should have run lateral and tried to find someone down the field.
DeLalo is the punter for the Buffaloes, and he is a left footer. And in watching him in warm-ups today, he can make that thing almost turn into a knuckleball. Very hard to catch. KU coming after it, and he drives this one. Spiral is not going to turn over, but the tackle made with great coverage at the 5-yard line, and KU will take over with very poor field position. 45 on the punt and nothing on the return, and it was Jaleel Brown who was downfield to make the tackle for Colorado. So when we come back, Reeseen will get his second chance of the afternoon operating the Jayhawk offense. We'll be right back.
ESPN's College Football Primetime is presented by Hampton Hotels. At Hampton, we love having you here. And in part by Nissan, who invites you to shift the way you move through the world. And Safe Light Auto Glass. For auto glass repair or replacement anywhere, call 1-800-800-ASAP or go to safelight.com.
Well, it's the majestic Rocky Mountains providing the backdrop here for this Saturday ball game. A lot of snow already up there and supposed to be a whole lot more by this time tomorrow evening. fact, snow warnings for the western portions of the state of Colorado. They'll keep it on the ground, and nothing, absolutely nothing for Jake Sharp as he gets smacked down hard by Brandon Nicholas, a junior out of Santa Ana, California.
You know, Jack alluded at the open about how Colorado played tight last week, and the coaches talk about how they particularly played tight on the defensive side of the ball. That they kind of got to a place where they forgot what had made them overcome the role of underdog and play with a chip on their shoulder and get after some folks. And last week against Kansas State, they just didn't feel like they were playing fluid. And right now, they're playing great. They're going towards the line of scrimmage from the first and second level, D-line and linebackers.
Colorado shows blitz. They're going to put it up on top, and it is caught. Did he catch it in bounds? Yes. At the 29-yard line. That is an outstanding effort by Marcus Henry. 24 yards in the play.
Boy, it sure looked like he was bobbling that before he established
well, we may get a review.
Possession.
Who knows?
Yeah, that's not a catch.
No,
and I believe they will review it. Henry just didn't quite have.
Kansas is trying it. Now here comes the review.
I don't blame Kansas for trying to get a snap off, but that did not look like a catch. It was just that one bobble, and you see it so many times when someone tries to cradle the ball instead of catching it away from their body. When Henry tries to cradle this, it hits something, either his face mask or his shoulder pad, and just gets jarred loose. Left foot was down, but did not have control until his right foot stepped out of bounds.
You have to wonder if that might have been an audible at the line of scrimmage, because Henry is 6'4", almost 6'5". The gentleman he's playing against is an outstanding athlete in Wheatley, but Wheatley's only 5'10".
Yeah, it was definitely a fade to that side. They had the one-on-one coverage, and it was a perfectly thrown ball by Reesing.
Yeah.
But I would think, Ron, because they are in that check with me mode where they're getting the call from Ed Warner, the offensive coordinator up top, that perhaps they did see that and change it to the fade route.
I talked to Warner this morning as he was heading into breakfast, and he said this coaching staff has just become totally enamored with young Mr. Reesing. They said we knew he and thought he was going to be good, but we thought he had physical limitations. He said, look, he stands 6'5" when he's in the huddle. It is his football team. It's his offense.
A little bit of a different guy, too. Do you know what he lists as a hobby? Snake wrangling.
Yes.
And he said the next time I wrangle a snake will be the first time. I just kind of put it in because I don't know. He put sports and movies and snake wrangling.
Well, the high school he comes from is just north of Austin, Texas, just off Lake Travis.
The ruling on the field is reversed. Incomplete pass. The player did not have possession of the ball. Second down.
So they're going to take it back. But to complete the story, Lake Travis High School has had consistently very good athletic programs, but he may have even surprised some of the folks out there to come into Division I and do as quickly what he's done.
He had a few sniffs in Texas from like Baylor and SMU, but he just felt like Coach Mangino's offense gave him the chance he wanted. Now you're 3rd and 10. I think you've got to be very careful. I would think something like a screen, maybe a wide receiver or a screen to McAnderson. You don't want to get too risky down here right now.
Yeah, Brandon is in the ball game, and he's almost 240 pounds. So you would look for him to get the ball possibly one way or another. Yep, shovel pass goes to McAnderson. And good low open field tackle. And let's check in once again with Reese Davis. Thanks, Reese. Kyle Tucker on the field for his second punt of the afternoon. His first one was 53 yards. Good high kick, not real long this time. The wind holding it up, and the ball is muffed, and it has been picked up by a Colorado Buffalo at the 48-yard line, and that is Gardner McKay, who was right there, Johnny on the spot, literally on that 39-yard boot.
I think the wind is starting to play effects with that
too.
ball. That ball changed its flight pattern in the air.
So welcome back to Boulder, Brian Lockridge, a freshman tailback, number 20, out of the state of California, who has really impressed some people in the ballgame. They throw the quick pass out in the flat, though, and this is to Josh Smith, another freshman, and he is going to be knocked down for a 2-yard loss. Jackaroo.
Ron, remember at Giant Stadium, there was always that mysterious door that if it opened or it was shut, it would affect the kicking game. Well, here the wind is doing the exact same thing. Now, up by the flags, you can see that it's blowing pretty steadily. But down here on the floor, sometimes it's still, sometimes it gusts right up to that 25 miles per hour. And it goes in a different direction than you see on the flags. Tell you what, it's a crapshoot right now for the kickers.
I wouldn't want to be one. I think your point is very well taken. KU is showing blitz. And the handoff goes to Sumler. And Sumler will take it to the 50-yard line, and they're going to be looking at a 3rd down and long. They need the 42.
And the other thing that the offensive coordinators have to be aware of with that wind is how many deep throws you're going to call. Posts and things like that are going to hang in the air. And, you know, now the flags are drooping like there is no wind on the left side of the stadium from us, and on the right side it's howling. So they just have to be careful. We saw that punt hang up there and change direction. That could happen on a post route just the same.
You know, I also would be a little bit afraid of a throw across field, even
a long out route or something.
Exactly. That's a difficult pass even when it's still. 3rd down. Hawkins rifles it and has it complete. That's DuVray, and he'll have the 1st down at the KU 40-yard line. 10 yards picked up on the pass play.
Well, if you've ever watched Boise State play, as we had the pleasure of doing last year in the Fiesta Bowl, you know that they love their tight ends and H-backs. Well, they've had trouble here at Colorado. Of course, Dan Hawkins and Mark Helfrich, his offensive coordinator, coming from Boise State because they haven't had any healthy guys. DuVray has battled some concussion problems. Gear had an MCL, and so they're trying to get some of these guys involved that they love to use.
Celestine in the lineup. He goes straight ahead with the run. 5 yards, 6 and 7. That's Hugh Charles on the carry. Let's talk about what we meant off the top of the telecast. We were visiting about him today. That was a mindset change and physically becoming, you know, just a more physical player.
Well, the coaches noticed with Hugh Charles that if the play was blocked for 6 yards, he got 6 yards. If it was blocked for 12, he got 12. And they challenged him to get those extra yards. And if you put the film in from early in the season and last season to now, he's a totally different runner.
2nd down and 4. Quick out pass. Celestine gets a block. 30, 25. And he will be pushed out of bounds at the 22. And here is a speedster you got to keep an eye on. Reese Davis, you got more on the Buckeyes.
In the 4th.
Okay, Reese. Short drop, far sideline pass is thrown complete to Dusty Sprague, and that'll be a gain of about 6. What did we talk about at halftime of that ball game today? I said, if I were the head coach at Ohio State, I would say, kids, keep playing ugly. We're just going to run the ball and play defense. We can win the whole thing. All of a sudden, they start throwing, and look what they've done.
Ohio State, if you look at the schedules, you're absolutely right.
I'm telling you.
If you look at the schedule down the stretch, if they just keep playing good defense and running the ball, they may run it out.
That's, you know, don't do anything cute. Good heavens, nobody can stop that running game. Barron straight ahead from the fullback position, and he almost broke it for the 1st down. It'll be 3rd down, and they still will need about 1. And Mortensen, a young junior out of Concord, California, that's the Bay Area, made the tackle. And somebody told me at breakfast this morning that he is very Urlacher-esque, that he really likes to hit.
Well, and they had him at outside linebacker last year and moved him inside. They swapped him and Rivera, and it's really paid off. And now 3rd and short. Got to be careful if you're Kansas. Do not miss your assignment because this could be a play fake with a throw over the top.
Celestine back in the lineup, number 5. But they go with the draw play, and Charles still pumping, dropped the ball, and it's almost like he tried to fumble it forward to see if his teammate could get it, and it's recovered by Kansas.
Well, and we talked about the X factor at the beginning of the game was the turnovers. Colorado, one of the worst in the country. Kansas, one of the best. And it did look like Hugh Charles was trying to reach that ball out and almost like he wanted to let it go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, of course, on 4th down, that certainly wouldn't have worked because you got to recover it yourself. Look at it again. And he is.
Yeah,
it's like he thought that maybe
he just let
Celestine, might be able to recover that thing. So it's Kansas football.
That's an unforced error there.
Sharp, nothing. Back He's going to be knocked down maybe for about a half-yard loss. By the way, it was Kendrick Harper who made the recovery on that fumble. Kendrick, an interesting story. He and Chris Harris have been going back and forth as far as who was going to be the #1. Harper was projected to be that. He got hurt. Harris came in, took over his spot, and now he can't get his position back, but he just had a huge recovery. Under 2 minutes to play, opening quarter. Reese, all the time in the world. Safety valve that's sharp, and he's tackled at the 16-yard line by Terrence Wheatley. Well, Auburn won 9 of its last 10 against top 10 ranked opponents tonight. They try to add the LSU Tigers to that list. College football primetime presented by Hampton Hotels, following our game on ESPN at 9 Eastern. College football lives here. Ron Franklin, Ed Cunningham, Jack Arute coming to you from Folsom Field in Boulder, Colorado. Third down. They need to take it to the 22-yard line to take advantage of the fumble recovery. Reese gets by 2 men, pumps once, now is in open field. 25-30, 35-40 at midfield, and is finally going to be tackled at the 30-yard line of Colorado on a broken play. 53 yards on the scramble by Todd Reese. Finally stopped by Benjamin Burney.
Well, it was a blitz, an all-out blitz to the weak side. 2 linebackers came and they were picked up. And they had man-to-man coverage. Watch the blitz come to the outside. They're going to get blocked, and that's what's going to open it up. And then down the field, Derek Fine, the tight end, saw Reese running and threw a spectacular block that gave them about another 30 yards.
And guess what? That's the longest rush from center by the Jayhawks this year.
What a great block by Derek Fine.
Jake Sharp, short yardage, trying to keep that Colorado defense honest. They pick up a couple. Dyson making the tackle.
Well, last year against Colorado when Reese came in, he rushed for 90 yards, including a 63-yarder. So Dan Hawkins is used to seeing number 5 take off and run.
Ingram checks into the lineup, number 89. And that is the end of the first quarter. So we will take a timeout, and when we return, Buffalo's nothing and the Jayhawks nothing, but it is KU who is threatening. We'll be back with more after this. Welcome back to ESPN College Football Primetime, presented by Hampton Hotels. Colorado nothing. Kansas nothing. But the Jayhawks with a second down. And they need to take it to the 20-yard line. Reese under pressure, going to be sacked for the first time this afternoon, and it's Alonzo Barrett, a sophomore out of Alabaster, Alabama.
Well, they have decided to bring pressure, Colorado. And that was a zone blitz. And Barrett, because the offensive lineman went to pick up the blitzing linebacker, left him completely unblocked. You've got to block the first level first, then wait for the linebackers.
This is much akin to what they did to upset the rhythm of the young quarterback at Oklahoma. Third down, option play, and they flip it back inside rather than to the pitch man coming high, so it's a shovel pass, and Fine, the tight end, caught it, and then he caught Alonzo Barrett, who has 2 tackles back-to-back.
Very conservative call, and I think it's because you're at the elevation. You have a little more confidence. Scott Webb, whose career long is 49, and so now you're sitting there close to your career long, but of course at 5,300 plus feet, you've got a little more confidence in that distance.
So they'll place it down at the 38-yard line, a 48-yard attempt. High pass, and he had to slow down his motion, but he got plenty of distance on it, and he is good from 48 yards. So let's call a timeout here. 13:42 left until halftime, and our new score, Kansas 3 and Colorado nothing. are back, and this is the punter who is the holder. And watch the job that Kyle Tucker does.
Excellent catches the back of the ball. Not a horrible snap, but look how Webb has to stutter step. Well, we talked about being at 5,300 feet, maybe coming into play in the fourth quarter, but it also helps when you're kicking footballs, hitting home runs like the Colorado Rockies.
There's Kyle.
Yeah, but hey, that was an excellent job of getting the ball down.
I mean, trust me, you wouldn't have the 3 points if that young man had not done his job exceptionally well.
You see that a lot where the punter is the holder because they work together all day during practice. So Tucker sits there and just puts the ball down for Webb all day. So they like to have the same guy do it in the games.
Hey, Webb is a good kickoff man as well. His coaches talked about it. That's 5 yards deep, and they'll return it. That's Wheatley. And Wheatley will make it to the 23. And let's check it again with Reese Davis. Understand Florida State and Miami are brewing.
Hey, this game's been flying under the radar all week, Ron, but check out what the Canes do. Lining up for the field goal attempt and a variation of the LSU play. Trickeration, Francesco Zampagna to De Leon Farr. 24-23. The Canes up. Some watching that on ABC.
Okay. Wow.
What do they think? They're Rutgers? Rutgers could not have played better the other night. Give them a lot of credit.
Yeah, you're right.
They brought a lot of pressure all night on Grothy, and those special teams plays were phenomenal.
And how about Temple?
Oh, yeah.
They won 3 in a row. How many decades do you have to go back to find that out?
That's a brain teaser there. I'd have to Google that for about a week.
Well, the short yardage on the carry, and let's go down to the sideline and check in again with Jack.
Early on, Ron, your partner up there talked about the fact that the coaches counseled Cody Hawkins this week to be anticipation instead of predetermination. It's been something he struggled with since last season. In fact, he said one of the things that he had to learn is sometimes the little play was better than the big play. He says, I've got to narrow my focus and not try to carry this team on my shoulders. Just take what the defense gives me.
Brian Lockridge is in the ball game now, number 20, the freshman I talked about earlier. They fake it to him, and now the pass locked out and hit immediately on the catch is Ryer Greer, the tight end. And that was Darryl Stuckey, who was right there. Stuckey's an interesting story. Was going to start as a freshman, became injured. They say he's a really, really smart player, and now he's in the lineup and is really, really playing well, helping them out in that secondary tremendously.
Took a little while for Colorado to get the personnel they wanted on the field. They seem to have it set now. They've got 2 into the boundary, but they've got 1-on-1 up top.
Sprague in motion. Pressure right up the middle, and the pass is dropped. Right at the first down marker. It is dropped, and it'll be punting time. It's Dusty Sprague who went in motion.
Well, this one's hard to tell who was at fault, the receiver or the quarterback, but the ball was thrown very early. Sprague, you can see he's not even getting around it. Just so hard to get that ball, snap your head around. Like I said, I don't know if Sprague is late getting out of the quarterbacks early, but that was missed timing because they had exactly what they wanted.
First punt this afternoon. Delano was 45 yards. See what the left footer can come up with here. They're coming after him, and he gets it away. Spiral is not going to turn over and is going to be caught by Webb, and they will say at the 36-yard line. Now it's time for our Aflac trivia question. This week's question: Kansas is ranked number 2 in the NCAA for both offense and defensive scoring. Who was the last team to be ranked number 1 in both categories?
Wow.
You know what? My first guess would be Southern Cal, because their punter Morgan hardly got to kick them.
Yeah,
they were so prolific, and defensively but they also gave up a lot of points in Pac-10 play. Maybe my guess is wrong.
I think you may need like Oklahoma in the mid 80s because they were so dominant with their running game, so their defense didn't have to play as much.
So good field position for the Jayhawks. Reese looked toward his safety valve man, wasn't there, now throws it to him and has it complete, and that's Henry. That's the 6'4" young man I was talking about, and he came down just across midfield. Now what the linesman is asking his fellow officials down at the 50-yard line, did that young man run out of bounds and come back in without being forced out? I'll bet you.
It's exactly what they're talking about. And the linesman has his hat off, which means that he threw his hat because he had gone out of bounds. Oh, that's a nice job. It's nice for the referee to tell the crowd what they were talking about, so there's no confusion.
Yeah. Tom Walker, a referee today, explaining to the crowd exactly what happened.
Reesing can make some plays, can he, when things break down?
He really can. Colorado showing blitz off the corner. He goes straight ahead. This is Mac Anderson, and he'll be stopped after a 3-yard gain. Reese Davis. Ooh, you're a busy guy tonight, fella. You know, Reese, it just tickles me to death that part of the world, I know basketball has started, but they're not cheering the Thumpers right now. They're fired up about that football team, and they should be. Reesing runs up into the pocket, and that little fake didn't help him. He was going to try to let him know that he might throw the football, and they said, we went for it last time. We're not going for that one again. And that is Brad Jones, who is there to make the tackle.
I'm not one to say to stop being aggressive on defense, but right now Colorado is doing such a good job in coverage. But what's killing them is Reesing pulling down and running.
Yeah.
I would think maybe start thinking of Colorado going to a 3-man rush and leaving a spy, because this young man can beat you with his feet. The coverage has been perfect, and Reesing has been able to make plays with his feet.
Kerry Meyer, number 10, the backup quarterback, is in at receiver. The bottom part of your screen. Lobs it, and that's to the running back, Mac Anderson. And he will have it for the first down at the 38. And Jack Arute, you got more on that story.
Yeah, Ed, you were talking about the fact that what they need to do is try and maybe get into the pass game just a little bit more. Remember yesterday when we chatted with Ron Collins, he talked about going into this game, they were going to try and make this team one-dimensional by stopping the running game. Now all of a sudden at halftime, you begin to wonder, will they say, well, forget about that. Let's make the change like EC says.
Well, Jack, Kansas is throwing the ball a lot more than we expected coming in. They told us they were going to spread out to run, but I think they feel like Reesing has a bit of a hot hand and can make plays with his feet, so they're letting him sling it around, and if it's not there, pull down and run.
Pass complete to Kerry Meyer, and he will take it inside the 30 to around the 29-yard line. Kerry, as I said, the reserve quarterback, and as some KU people at the hotel yesterday described him, they said he just wants to get on the field, that he would give an arm and a leg to whatever he can do just to help this football team.
And he's a very talented guy, and he obviously knows the passing game very well. What a nice slot receiver to add mid-season for Kansas.
Aqib Talib, the defensive back, is in the game in the slot at wide receiver. And they go to him, and the ball just a little too long. But he's caught a few passes, and it gives him a different wrinkle.
But he's a rangy guy, 6'2".
Yeah.
But that time, and it looks like Ryan Walters, the free safety for Colorado, is limping off to the far side. He was favoring his right ankle as he went off. And at this down and distance, I think you could think about, if you don't get it here, maybe going for it on fourth, because of the punt wouldn't get you much.
KU is 3 of 6 in third down conversions. We're about to go into 9 minutes to play until halftime. Reesing looking. Now got a man loose. Somebody broke coverage, and he had Mac Anderson for a touchdown, and he overthrew it.
And right away, Reesing put his hands up on his head. He knew he missed it. Excellent job by McAnderson breaking down the field. He had a linebacker covering him, and as soon as he saw Reesing break, he took off. A lot of times in the scramble drill, and here Reesing is staying on the field. And here Kansas is going to be going for it on fourth down. They just lost sight of him and overthrew that. And I think this is a good decision by Mangino.
Remember the fourth down rule. If they fumble, the guy who fumbles got to recover. Ball incomplete. Thrown a little bit strong over the middle to Kerry Meyer. So it will be Colorado football. They'll take it over in decent field position.
The way Kansas, we talked about, they have the #2 offense and #2 defense. The way they're playing defensively, I think that's a good aggressive call. They've been playing so good on defense so far.
We will take a timeout. 3-0 Jayhawks.
weekend's college football primetime. Brought to you by Acura, Advance, and Taco Bell. Think outside the bun.
Well, they're getting the trails ready at the Eldora Mountain Resort. Ski season just a short time away here in Colorado. And as we mentioned early on in that opening quarter, heavy snow for the Denver area and west for later tonight. First down, Colorado. Nice defensive stop. Lockridge back in the ball game at tailback, and he will go straight forward, still fighting, and he'll take it for about a 6-yard gain. Now, when Lockridge comes up off the pile, watch him hustle back to the huddle. They call him the Energizer Bunny. And the coaches absolutely love the young guy because in practice, even if he runs 60 yards, he sprints all the way back to the huddle. It's just the way he was taught.
And it's not just hustle that's got him on the field. He's got some talent. He's about 175 pounds. They want him to gain 10 or 15 pounds. And they think if they can get this guy 15, 20 touches a game, he can make some things happen as the season goes on and his career goes on.
Blitz coming right up the middle. And the handoff, they slide it outside Lockridge. Lockridge is going to have the first down plus about 15 yards. 16 on the play, let's call it. And let's go down to Jackaroo.
Hey, Ron, just an observation. I know Lockridge is having a great game on the ground, but ever since Hugh Charles put that ball on the grass, you notice that he has not been back in the game. I wonder if maybe Coach Hawkins has another rule. Put it on the grass, and you come stand next to me.
Well, it was a totally unforced error. It couldn't really tell what Charles was trying to accomplish with that. And he was battling staying out of the doghouse earlier in the year and ran more physically, but they cannot be turning that ball over in a game like this.
Lockridge this time is going to be locked up after about a half-yard gain. And Reese Davis, what's happening with the UCLA Bruins?
Wow. That's not a position to be in this year, is it?
One or two. Forget it.
Well, they pull the guard and they try to run Byron Ellis behind him, and it didn't work so well as the Jayhawkers were right there to knock him down at the 45. James Holt was the first man who made a collision with him.
We're talking about being sitting in that number 1 or number 2. Of course, BCS came out last week. South Florida was number 2, got knocked off by Rutgers. The team sitting, I think, in the catbird with one loss is Oklahoma. They pulled one out today, even though it wasn't beautiful at Iowa State. They still won. And we've seen them a couple of times this year. If they get on a bit of a roll and can keep things going and get to the Big 12 championship, I think they have just as good a chance as anybody to play for it all.
Third down, line to make is just inside the 39 of Kansas. Hawkins, here comes a blitz, steps up, throws it. Did he catch it or not? Yes, the official said he didn't trap it. That's Duvray. He caught the ball, secured it before it hit the ground.
But Duvray is a guy we mentioned earlier. He had been battling a concussion. Let's see if he gets his hand underneath of it. Yep, that's a great catch. Excellent job. Got his arms underneath of it, but they need this guy. This offense gets the tight ends involved a lot, and they have to have a guy who can catch it like that.
Celestine in the ball game at wide receiver. And I know in watching practice on Thursday, here it comes. It's a reverse to Celestine. And boy, I mean, Kansas is all over it. And they knock him out of bounds for a huge loss. That's the play that we've been waiting to see as John Larson is out there to make the tackle, because we knew on the script that it was going to be used early. But that is a 10-yard loss, and the speedster never got an opportunity to put it in any other gear.
And watch the defensive end as he comes up. You're supposed to stay as deep as the ball. And he does that exact thing. And Hawkins tried to grab his leg to get him down. But even though Larson doesn't make the tackle, he allows all the other white shirts to come. That's just great defensive end play by Larson.
So a loss of 10 and a second down. They've got to take it all the way to the 26-yard line. Short drop by Hawkins. Going to throw to the near side. Got it complete. And that's Patrick Williams, and he's going to have a really nice gainer inside the 30. That's good for 18 yards, and it's going to be third down coming up.
Patrick Williams, a young man who does not get outworked in practice. He's had a couple of issues dropping the ball. Worked on it very hard during the offseason, but followed him into this season a little bit. But this is an excellent job of good balance and not good leverage by Kendrick Harper. You talked about that battle going back and forth at that position. You've got to make that tackle, and Harper came just too high and got up high on the pad instead of breaking down and getting Williams around the waist.
That's the longest play of the afternoon by Colorado. 3rd down. And they need about 3 yards. Hawkins. Pressure. Goes the pass, and it is dropped. Good heavens. Boy, that pass was right in the hands of Dusty Sprague, and he just dropped it.
Well, and the crowd is hoping for a late hit by Patrick Resby, and I'm not so sure I disagree. It was obvious that ball went through Sprague's hands. Good cut block there on the edge by Scotty McKnight. I think you may have thrown a flag on that one. That play was clearly over when Resby took his shot.
After dropping that football, he deserved to get hit like that. I'm sorry.
That's a 1st down.
Eberhardt to attempt a 46-yard field goal. They'll place it down at the 36. Plenty of distance. Does he have the accuracy? No. Plenty of distance and no accuracy. Wide left. And so the opportunity to put points on the board goes awry for the Buffaloes. We'll take a timeout. 5:12 until halftime. Our score remains 3-0. Jayhawks. Welcome back on an absolutely gorgeous day in Boulder, Colorado. 3-0. The visiting Jayhawks trying to keep that record perfect. They're 6-0 coming into this one, but they have not won in this house, Folsom Field, since 1995. And this hit right here on Sharp by Jeff Smart is going to go for negative yardage.
Well, if you're going to be making plays like this in a game that's at 3-0. Sprague had the drop earlier, which was hard to tell if it was the quarterback throwing earlier, him coming out of his break late. But when you've got chances to make plays, that's what these coaches have been working on, is getting over that hump. Guys, you've been that close. Well, the fumble by Charles, plays like that, that's not going to get you over the hump.
Racing got it complete, and that's Derek Fine, the tight end. He is a senior out of Sallisaw, Oklahoma. Well, here's the answer to today's Aflac trivia question. It said that KU was ranked 2nd in the NCAA, both offense and defense. Who was the last team to be ranked number 1 in both categories? I've already made my guess.
Well, just because we're here, I'll say either the 90 or 91 Colorado Buffaloes.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Virginia Tech, 1991.
That was my pick.
Yeah, right. Thanks, Jack. Oh, Jackson. Oh, I can see your nose growing from here. Racing has to throw it across his body, and that ball is dropped. Derek Fine, and boy, that's a tough throw by the quarterback, going against the grain, as the expression is, throwing across his body, and he still got it there, and it was dropped.
I couldn't see from this angle the ball got tipped. It sure didn't look like it, but again, that ball needs to be caught. Both of these quarterbacks fighting their tails off, and they're getting a lot of pressure and making things happen with their feet. These guys got to start supporting them.
McBride is the deep man. 3rd punt of the afternoon by Kyle Tucker. He has punted well, and we also showed you the great job that he did on bringing down a high snap on a field goal just a moment ago. Here's the boot. This is not a good kick. Wobbly off to the right side. It is going to be fielded at the 24-yard line and then hit immediately. Wow, McBride really took a hit. There should have been a sign right there that said exit stage left immediately, and he got knocked out of bounds hard. 40 on the kick and 2 on the return, and it was Mortensen who made the hit. And Jackaroo, to understand, you got a special guest.
Yeah, the man with the golden toe, Mr. All Everything when it came to kicking, Mason Crosby. Mason, we were talking a little bit about the nuances of the wind here. Yeah. You kick so long. Tell me a little bit about what the key is.
Just got to trust it. You know, it's kind of on the field. It feels like it's blowing one way, and then you look at the flags, they're going the other. So, you know,
so how do you make up your mind?
You just go. I just usually aim straight down the middle and just hope for the best. You know, it's sometimes it does stuff, sometimes it doesn't. You just got to trust it. So
kind of like playing golf, guys.
That's right.
Okay, thanks very much, Jack. Scotty McKnight making the catch right there. It'll be good for 5 yards.
Well, think about Kevin Eberhardt having to take over for 2-time All-American Mason Crosby. Eberhardt, a 5th-year senior who already has his aerospace engineer degree, but all he's done this year, of course, he had the miss earlier, but He sent the Colorado State game into overtime and then won it in overtime. And then, of course, he had a 45-yarder with zeros on the clock against Colorado for a huge upset. So
Hugh Charles back in the ballgame. First time that we've seen him since that fumble, which, of course, was back in the first quarter. Quick out pass. Charles close to the first down, and he holds on to this one. And it looks as well they may have to measure, but it's very close.
It was interesting talking to Hugh Charles. And it's nice to see him come out and make another tough run, trying to kick his way out of that doghouse he may or may not have been in. But one of the things that Colorado does is they run a lot of different personnel groupings. Coming into today's game, they had 42 different groupings, which meant that there may be 2 tight end, 1 back, but it'd be different people in 2 or 3 different sets. So it's the same group of bodies, but different people. And he said it was hard for me to adjust to that.
He didn't like it.
No, didn't like it at all. And he finally accepted it, he said, about last spring, and that's when the light went on.
Blitz pick up, but they're not going to be able to stop the remainder of the charge by James McClinton, and he will knock him down for a loss. And let's check in again with Reese Davis.
All right, Ron, coming up at halftime on the Pontiac Performance Halftime Report, Mark and Lou trying to figure out what's going on with the BCS. Another day, another shake up there. We're keeping an eye on the battle in the Bluegrass, where Kentucky just converted a 4th down, trying to keep its drive alive. The Sooners were able to survive. Florida State's making field goals against Miami. All kinds of crazy things coming up at the half.
Okay, Reese. 2:03 is what we got left here in Boulder. Folsom Field, 3-0. Jayhawks on top. 2nd down and a mile. Hawkins steps up, tries to run for his life, and they corral him. He's going to be knocked down by big number 91. That's Laptad, a freshman right out of high school from Tulsa Jenks High School.
Yeah, and if I'm Colorado, I would think, I believe they may have taken, well, no, Kansas did. A good timeout by Kansas here. You've got the team pushed back. You had 3 of them. You might as well try to get some time back for your offense if you can stop them on 3rd. Nice timeout.
So we'll take a timeout. 1:50 left until intermission. Jayhawks lead it by 3, looking for more. Jim Brown, well, I don't think there's any argument there. In fact, there's some who say, as many great ones as there have been, that he still probably was the best because of strength, size, and speed. And again, Hawkins is going to be sacked, and it's Laptad, the freshman out of Tulsa Jenks. And very quickly, Kansas has called a timeout. They only took up 7 seconds on that play, so they're going to get it back.
Excellent time management by Kansas. And that reminds me, Hawkins that time trying to bounce outside. The other night, Matt Grothe of South Florida late in the game did that a couple of different times. And those are huge sacks for field position. Now, you're punting from your 20-yard line, where the line of scrimmage is all the way up almost at the 40. You lost about 18 yards by just keep going backwards. He should have, if anything, stepped up and tried to throw that ball away if he didn't have anything there.
So the Kansas return team comes sprinting out, hoping that because of the good clock management and also back-to-back sacks of the quarterback, that they can pick up some field position. Webb is the deep man, number 20. And they're coming after him again, the left footer. This is a really good kick. Pushing the return man Webb all the way back to the 33, and he's tackled immediately. Boy, put an asterisk by that play right there. 47 yards on the kick and nothing on the return. And for the 2nd time today, Jalil Brown on special teams is there to nail the return man.
And the timing by Brown is perfect. You get down there, you've gotten by your blocker, and you've got to figure, okay, when is the ball going to land in the receiver's hands? Remember, no more halo rule. You just have to give the guy an opportunity to catch it. That's great timing by Brown.
Jayhawks still have 1 timeout remaining. 1:35 showing on the clock. Reese got a man wide open, throws it over the middle, complete to Henry. Ball is loose, and Colorado says they have it. And the official agrees. So now they have improved field position with time on the clock, and they've got 2 timeouts remaining.
X factor. Said it right from the beginning. Colorado gave one away for Hugh Charles, and this time
Jeff Smart made the recovery.
And that was just an excellent hit right on the ball.
Walters.
Yeah, and Walters was a guy who had hobbled off earlier.
Yeah. You know, Ryan's dad played here as well. So it's second generation Buffalo.
So now you flop the field again with those turnovers, and Kansas, one of the best turnover teams in the country, finding themselves giving up huge field position. And Colorado, with 2 timeouts left, have plenty of time to work with 1:26 and 2 timeouts. Well, that was clearly, well, Coach Mangino asked for that's not a good use of a timeout. They're going to lose that timeout, and more importantly, they're going to lose the ability to challenge later in the game. That was clearly a fumble. And somebody upstairs, a lot of times that'll come from upstairs where the assistant coaches may have seen a replay, but this is clearly a fumble. And remember, the new rule in college football, you're allowed 1 challenge and 1 challenge only. Once you've used it, whether you're right, wrong, or otherwise, it's gone. And I just don't think this is a good strategic move in case you need to challenge later in the game.
Ryan Walters, number 15, with an outstanding hit. Here we go right there. See the headgear right on the football, causing it to come loose. And then it was recovered by the middle linebacker, Jeff Smart. The sophomore right here in Boulder.
After review. After review.
Well, we can hear him, but the crowd
Testing. After review, the ruling on the field is confirmed. It is a fumble. Kansas is charged with their last timeout of the half.
It's not that losing the timeout. That to me is not the big deal right now with 1:26 left. What the big deal is you lose that challenge in case you need it later.
Here's another thing. Eberhard, the head coach, told us yesterday, he said, what's the range? How much would you trust him as far as the distance out? And he said 57 yards. They don't have to go too much farther to get him in that position.
You need to go right in here before you start to feel comfortable. So not too much.
Actually, that's 47.
No, excuse me, yeah.
So they don't have to they don't have to go much farther at all. Hawkins got it complete. That's Duvray. And Jack Arute, let's check with you quickly.
Yeah, fellas, we talk about that turnover we just witnessed. One of the things that CU does, the Colorado Buffaloes, they break out film and they show to the entire team all the top teams that force turnovers. And this seemed to pay off for them as that turnover gave them a possible opportunity here with 1 minute to go.
Well, Daniel Sanders, described by his teammates as the girthy one, comes out over the football, number 75. Second down and short. Hawkins looking. And he's just going to throw this one away well outside the tackle box. James McClinton. And you've been talking about he has been playing lights out. Had a lot of pressure on the quarterback. James, number 93, is a senior out of Garland, Texas. Very physical and very strong.
Well, that play there took an awfully long time to get going, to snap the ball, and then of course it took a long time because Hawkins ran around. I'm not so sure that Colorado shouldn't have taken a timeout. They've got 2 of them when that ball was thrown in front of the first down marker on the first down play.
You know, it would only be a 58-yarder if they tried it from here, maybe 59 from this line of scrimmage. Good pickup on the blitz, and this ball well overthrown. Dusty Sprague, the intended receiver.
Well, it's almost impossible to tell what the wind is doing, and it looks like Dan Hawkins is considering going for it on 4th down with 40 seconds and Kansas having to use that timeout on that challenge. I don't disagree with this aggressive call. Now the question becomes, will they run a play? Will they try to draw Kansas offside to pick up the 1st down?
So situation, it is 4th down, 40 seconds left on the clock until halftime. Jayhawks lead it 3-0. Line to make is the 39. They're coming with a blitz. Quick out pass. Got it complete, and that is Patrick Williams. That's enough for the first down. They mark it at the 36-yard line.
Well, how much confidence do you have to have in your freshman quarterback?
Well, that's a tough long throw.
Absolutely. But they saw that one-on-one coverage over there. Chris Harris, the true freshman, playing one-on-one against the junior Patrick Williams. And right away, Hawkins got it out to him.
So let's take a timeout. 35 seconds showing on the clock. We'll come back and see if the Buffs can put it in. They have a first down at the KU 36-yard line. Blitz again. Pass thrown complete inside the 30-yard line. That's Ryer Gear, the sophomore out of Grand Junction, the tight end.
And now they're having to hustle because they use that timeout, so they want to spike the ball here. I think maybe they should have spiked it on first down instead of using that timeout and only having one left.
They got time, another pass play. And let's say supposedly they pick up yardage, then they call the timeout to make sure they get the special teams on.
Yeah.
And they're well within his range now.
Right, but I think using that timeout, I understand what you're saying, but I think using that timeout, you take away at least one shot maybe to the end zone. Now you may only get one chance to throw into the end zone, where if you had the other timeout, you may have gotten a second.
So the Buffaloes come out of the huddle with 14 seconds showing on the clock. They're down 3-0. KU coming with a blitz right up the middle. Pass blocked at the line of scrimmage and is intercepted. And that is McClinton. And the ball is loose. And they scramble for it at the 37-yard line. And the officials jumping into the pile to see if it is going to be Colorado football. Now, I believe it was Duvray who got on the football.
Well, now with 5 seconds left and no timeouts, you're just going to have to try to kick this. This is right in the range for Eberhard.
This would be a 55-yard attempt, and he said he trusted him from 57.
Boy, what an excellent job that time by the center Sanders, who got the hand in there.
They're not going for it. They are going to go for it. They're not going to go for the field goal, is my point.
They're just going to try to throw one into the end zone. I think the wind maybe has Dan Hawkins concerned right now.
Hawkins runs up into the pocket, throws it with all his might in the end zone. The ball is tipped, incomplete, and we are at halftime. I believe that was Talib who got up and got a hand on it and tipped the ball away, and both clubs head to the locker room, and I'm not sure anybody thought that we would be in a defensive struggle in this ball game here today.
Yep. And with Kevin Eberhard having missed one and the wind we've seen being a factor, I can understand why Colorado would want to throw that down the field.
And let's go down to Jackaroo. Jack?
Coach, I got to ask you, why didn't you go for the field goal?
We're just a little far out of range. We got a little wind coming at us right there. We already missed one right there, and it was a little farther back.
Some miscues in the first half. How do you cure them?
Well, not really. We dropped 2 third-down passes, and we had to fumble down here. So, other than that, we're okay. We had one play. They had to run long quarterback run. So we're riding the thing. We just got to make a couple plays.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, man.
All righty, so we're at halftime, and our score, Jayhawks 3-0. Now let's join Reese Davis, Lou Holtz, and Mark May. They're in the studio with the Pontiac Performance Halftime Report.
Today we're going to start with 12 BCS game appearances, add 8 Final Fours, 276 academic All-Americans, and 385 NCAA championships. That's an important ingredient. Mix that all together. Oh, that is going to be so good. And we'll put it in the oven for about 12 years. And voila, the Big 12 Conference, celebrating 12 big years. Who wants some now?
Welcome back to ESPN College Football Primetime, presented by Hampton Hotels. Our score at halftime, as you look at a capacity house here at Folsom Field in Boulder, 3-0, the Jayhawks on top. And Ed Cunningham, my first question to you is, Are you as surprised as I am that we're at 3-0 and a defensive struggle after one half?
Yeah, you get the sense, Ron, that both these teams are a little tight. You know, they're just not playing fluidly. And the first half was all about miscues, really on both sides of the ball. For Colorado, it seemed like they have a lot of things going offensively, but they have some dropped balls. Hugh Charles just lays it on the carpet. Sprague had a couple of drops that appeared like he should have caught the ball. And even in the score for Kansas, it took a great hold by Kyle Tucker and a little shovel step by Scott Webb to get that ball off, and that's where we sit at 3-0. So it's, I just get the sense that both these teams feeling the pressure a little bit.
So Kansas won the toss, and they elected to go on offense to begin the ball game. So as a result, they're kicking off to the Buffaloes to open the third quarter. Scott Webb prepares to kick it. Interesting, these flags have almost dropped as though there is no wind. I know better than that. The ball's going to go all the way through and out the back of the end zone. And Jack Roop, let's check with you. And what did Coach Mangino have to say?
Ron, I'd love to tell you what he had to say, but he declined an interview or even a discussion. We were notified by the sports information director that he would not talk to us coming up. Ed, you brought up the point that both teams are tight. That strikes me as maybe Kansas is a little more tight than CU.
It's surprising. I would love to have heard some remarks from him about the first half and the good things that happened. So here comes Colorado on offense for the first time in this second half. And again, it will be Cody Hawkins at quarterback. Hugh Charles is the tailback. And he'll pitch it to Charles, and he'll try to bring it back against the grain, and he will be stopped at the 27. Nice pickup. And let's take a look at the first half stats.
Well, Kansas statistically one of the best teams in the country, both offensively and defensively. So it's not shocking that Colorado hasn't had a great offensive first half, but both teams seem to be kind of stuck in second gear.
3 of 8 and 2 of 9 in third down conversions.
And if you take,
proves your point.
Yeah, and the 53-yard run by Reesing in there was really the only play of note for either offense.
Williams in motion. And straight ahead, that's going to be close to the first down, but from where they're coming in, Sumler is not going to have it. Brosen is the man who makes the tackle. Interesting. Number 81, Russell Brosen, a junior out of Stillwater, and the other defensive end, John Larson, number 87. These two guys both are 4-point students. And the head coach says, I love them as players, and I also love the 8 points in grades that they give us each year.
Well, Bill Young, the defensive coordinator, said this, and Bill Young's been a defensive coordinator for over 20 years. As a group, the smartest football team he's ever coached.
That's quite a compliment there. Short on third down, and they're going to pick up the first down. Diving straight ahead is Sumler. Mortensen, the middle linebacker, credited with the stop on the play. So the Buffaloes will move the chains on their opening series here in the third quarter.
Now Rivera's got the play, and it looked like it would have been a lost yardage play, but give Sumler credit. This is exactly what they want. Ducks inside Rivera. He just started to drift a little bit. He was in his gap, and he got a little too far to the outside, and Sumler bent back in. Rivera's got to settle down and squeeze back into that inside A gap between the guard and the center.
Hawkins, quick pass, it comes to Celestine, and Celestine will be stopped just shy of the 43-yard line. James Holt was there to put the stop on him.
Celestine, a guy from a tiny little town in Louisiana, and got a little bit of chatter from LSU, but Romeo Bandison, who's the defensive line coach for Colorado but has the state of Louisiana, heard about this young man, and no one would go out to that town, and he said, you know what, I'll go out there and try to find somebody, and they're glad they did.
Mamou, Louisiana. We've done a lot of LSU games. I don't ever remember having heard about that one. Charles again at tailback, and they give it to him. And Charles will go straight ahead. He's going to be short of the first down. Tackled again by Holt. And let's go down to the sideline, check in with Jack Arute.
Fellas, you were talking about trying to change the culture of Hugh Charles and the way he runs. Well, the one thing the CU coaching staff did is they broke out some old tapes of the sweet one himself, Walter Payton, and tried to explain to Hugh that that was the type of attitude and the type of approach that they made. But then they realized, wait a minute, most of their players probably don't even remember Walter Payton.
You were right on. Well, the tight end was supposed to be the lead blocker, and he ran right by the defender. And as a result, Hugh Charles got greeted with nothing but KU colors. Mike Rivera, one of the first men there to make the hit.
Excellent job by Kansas attacking the line of scrimmage, and give Hugh Charles credit, because this play looked like it was going to lose a bunch of yardage when Joe Mortensen came in completely unblocked. But we've seen that now in a couple of plays where Kansas seems to be getting guys running free. The offensive line from Colorado has got to start identifying their blocking scheme a little sooner.
Fourth time that CU will have had to punt today. That's going to be against Kansas. Wow. And that will give them
on the defense. 5-yard penalty. First down.
Well, the only thing I can think of why they would call a delay of game against the defense is if they were shouting signals, and Colorado maybe was confused at that.
What we talked with the head of officials, or I did, and Walt said that the expression that was used when the snap is imminent, and if someone on defense calls out anything, it sounds like a snap count, that is going to be 5 yards stepped off against the defensive team, and that's what just happened, I think.
That's the only thing that would make sense of why you would call delay of game against Kansas, who was on defense, the receiving team, is that they were yelling things that were stopping Colorado from snapping it. Some of their signals, perhaps some of their blocking signals, they picked up the language.
This time from under center, Hawkins throws the pass, caught at the 41-yard line, and down the sideline, the talented young freshman Josh Smith. I think this young fellow is going to become a household conversation name in this area.
Well, and you've got so many youngsters for the young quarterback Hawkins to have to get timing down with. And they've struggled with that a little bit earlier in the season. They struggled with it last week against Kansas State. But Hawkins hangs in the pocket because he knows it's coming late. Takes a little shot there at the end by Khalid Blakesley. But that was a good job of waiting for that to break open. Freshman to a freshman.
KU moves around a shift on defense with a defensive front. They fake the reverse. They hand the ball off to Charles. Charles has 5, 6, let's call it 7. He's down at the 30-yard line.
This is a totally different guy. Hugh Charles had 171 yards rushing last week against Kansas State, a career high. He's had 3 100-yard games in a row. Watch the stiff arm right there, and pushes away from Rivera. And Rivera's a tall guy with long arms. Remember, Hugh Charles at 5'8" has shorter arms, so you'd expect the guy with longer arms to be able to wrap him up. But that's really excellent physical running by Charles, something that was not a part of his game until just recently.
Well, now the stadium completely out of the sun. It was a beautiful day, but now the lights are going to come into effect. They go with the sweep, and that's Patrick Williams. Stiff arm by him, but it didn't help much as he got belted out of bounds by Justin Thornton, a sophomore out of St. Joe's, Missouri.
You know what this game plan reminds me of? Is what Colorado did to Oklahoma. When Oklahoma came in here, even though Oklahoma got ahead and Colorado had to fight back, at the end of the game, they continued to run the ball. They continued to spread them out, run reverses, make people chase you. And at 5,300 plus feet, Dan Hawkins in his second year, I think he's starting to figure out what the home field advantage really means here in Boulder.
Well, this drive started back at the 20-yard line. It's the 10th play. Sumler checks back in a tailback. It's third down and short. And boy, Cody fumbled the ball and a man wide open. They blew the coverage, and it's touchdown DeVray and Colorado.
He didn't fumble. He faked like he fumbled, Ron. That was an unbelievable. It looked like he dropped that ball on the ground, but I think he meant to do that.
You're exactly right.
Wow.
Talk talk about Reese's term of trickeration.
What an
Hey, Reese, there's
fake.
the real trickeration of the day right there.
Well, you can't not run that fake any better. I thought he fumbled. It looked like he stumbled out, like he was going to hand it off. And there's DeVray, who's having a monster game.
Like a punt Ruski. So here's the kick, and our new score, Colorado 7-3. And as we go to break, take one more look at the fake. Touchdown Buffaloes.
Let's get an explanation on that delay of game. Watch number 7 in the middle of your screen, Patrick Resby, jumping into the neutral zone and trying to cause an offsides for the offense. I checked with the officials, and they told me that's exactly why they called that penalty. Guys?
Okay, thanks very much, Jack. Always great when the officials help us out so that we try to avoid confusion as far as what happened on the field.
And how big a penalty is that?
Oh,
it keeps the drive alive. Colorado takes that momentum from that penalty, goes down, and I'm still blown away by that fake by Dan Hawkins. That's as good a fake as I've ever seen.
Cope with the kick. Coming down at the goal line. This is Herford. 20-25, hit with a head-high tackle and wrestled down, and a flag comes from 35 yards away. That's going to be a face mask called on Colorado. So Kansas is going to get, I have a feeling it's going to be personal foul. They'll get it out at the 40-yard line.
During the return, personal foul, face mask on the defense. Number 36, 15-yard penalty, first down.
So let's check in quickly with Reese Davis back at the studio. Reese.
And Ron, no trickeration here. Every week we honor the AT&T ESPN All-America Player of the Week. We want your help. All you have to do, text the word VOTE to 87654 on your AT&T wireless phone. Access the nominees, cast your vote, and when you do that, you can register for a chance to win a trip to the national title game.
Reese, that penalty cost CU dearly. It's first down at the Kansas 42-yard line. Draw play. Sharp breaks it out. Has 5, has 10. Counted off at 11 yards on the run. Dyson is the man who was there to make the tackle.
You know, Kansas was picked in most polls 4th or 5th in the Big 12 North coming into the season. A lot of that had to do with the fact that they had to replace John Cornish, who rushed for almost 1,500 yards last year. And a lot of that, I think, people didn't realize how good Sharp and McClinton were going to be at running back. But Sharp, he's really got a great burst.
You know, as the coaches say, he can get outside. You put him in space, and he's difficult to stop. They give it to him again. Takes it off the left side. Has 5. Still fighting. Going to have 7 and now 8 yards. Brad Jones corrals him.
But the thing I like that Sharp does for a guy who, with that much speed at 190 pounds, you think would want to bounce it out. If the hole is there, he's gone. He does not waste steps getting towards the hole that he sees. He trusts his eyes and runs downhill. For a guy who's considered a speed back, he runs very aggressively between the tackles.
Kerry Meyer, number 10, the backup quarterback, comes in at receiver again. Pass goes the other way, though. They throw it to Henry. And Marcus Henry is shoved out of bounds, but not before he picks up the first down plus about 7.5 yards.
Well, and they were going over that way the whole time. So what they do is they slide the line to the right, and they have Jake Sharp go over and cut the leg out from underneath Alonzo Barrett, the defensive end, to get his hands down, because they knew they had that hitch route over on the other side. So you've got to get the defensive end's hands down. Nice protection call.
Racing got the call from the bench. Still time on the 25-second clock. Looking right over the middle. Got it complete. There's Henry again at the 5. It'll be first and goal from the 3-yard line. A gain of 26 yards. And Marcus Henry showing great speed, and that size makes him a great target.
Jack Arute was talking earlier in the game how nothing would shake the confidence of Todd Reesing. This young man threw 3 interceptions against Kansas State, was awful in the first half, and now CU goes down and scores. And what does Reesing do? He comes right back, and he's right on target with every throw in this drive.
First and goal. Shot right at the middle, at the 2, at the 1. Touchdown, KU. Man, that didn't take very long. Whatever they decided at halftime that they were going to come back with, obviously was a very good plan.
Well, they ran a lot of slants. They ran hitches. They ran their protection so that Reese could get the ball out. It was almost all timing routes. There wasn't a lot of standing back there because of the pressure that Colorado got in the first half. KU has now gone to a passing attack that's 1-2-3 or 1-2-3-4-5. Get the ball out, and Reese was just pinpoint accurate on that drive.
So the extra point is good, and our new score, Kansas 10 and the Buffalo 7. When we come back, we'll meet the new head basketball coach here in Boulder, Colorado. And we're going to kick this one off, and when we come back from the kickoff, visit with Jeff Bizdelek, the new head basketball coach here in Boulder, Colorado, coming over from the Air Force Academy, where he last was a head coach. From behind at the 30-yard line. Now quickly, let's join Reese Davis for a SportsCenter 30.
Yes.
Okay, thanks very much, Reese. Our situation, the Jayhawks have fought back, trying to keep that record perfect at 7-0. Hawkins rolls the pocket, throws it a little bit behind the intended receiver, Hugh Charles. Jeff Bizdelek is the new head basketball coach here in Boulder, Colorado, having come over from the Air Force Academy. You took that club last year all the way to New York in the semifinals of the NIT. Are you excited about the move to the Big 12?
I'm very excited. As a competitor, you want the very best. And, of course, in the Big 12, what more can you ask for? Great coaches, great teams, great traditions.
Well, obviously, new coaches bring new plans. You got building plans going on and also some schedule plans. Let's run this play right here, and we'll get some more on that from you. Second down and 10, and the pitch comes to Charles, and he will have very short yardage. Let's talk about that. Your arena and also a practice facility. You got some things on a new blueprint.
I'll tell you, everything's going on here under the great leadership of our Chancellor Peterson, and our athletic director, Mike Bone. I mean, we're building brand new basketball offices, a brand new basketball locker room. These offices and locker rooms will be second to none. Plans are being made for a new basketball practice facility. People are just excited about the entire athletic department.
One of the things that Dan Hawkins has had to do is kind of change the culture because of the things that are going on off the field. Is that something you've kind of found with the basketball program here?
Yes. You know, I tell you what, yes, we do have to have an environment conducive to winning. When you take the facilities and, you know, of course, the attitude of our players has been great, and, you know, that's how it's going to change.
Justin Thornton coming up with the interception right there. And if we take another look at it, I know for a fact that your counterpart at up in Lawrence, Bill Self, is a big basketball fan, and also, I mean, is a big football fan and really gets behind this Jayhawk team. I know you feel the same way as far as CU is concerned.
Exactly. We support everybody here. I just love college athletics, period. Whether, I don't care if it's rugby or college football, whatever it may be, men or women's, it's just fun, great environment to be around.
That pass is out to Kerry Meyer, and a flag comes in late back behind the line of scrimmage. We may have a personal foul against the Buffaloes here after the play was over. To come into the Big 12 conference, boy, there's a lot of youth, but there are also some really, really outstanding coaches in this league.
Well, I'll tell you what, believe me, I said in the press conference at the Big 12 in Kansas City the other day, I have both eyes open. I know what we're up against, and you know, to me, it just excites me. It doesn't, I'm not fearful of it. It just excites me. It's a great challenge, but I understand, you know, we have a long ways to go.
Well, let's try to get this thing sorted out right here as Coach Mangino discussing with the referee. Now, Mr. Walker, Now about to open the microphone.
On the defense, number 93, 10-yard penalty, first down.
Well, that's a first down. As far as the Big 12 Conference is concerned, and you know a lot of these guys in this league, you know what kind of coaches they are, but you know, it's not your first rodeo because you look very young, but you've already spent a lot of time in the NBA, my friend, haven't you?
17 years of NBA experience and what is it, 14 or 15 years in college, so I've been around. I know. It's just like I said, I'm excited. Our team is excited about the challenge ahead of them. Recruiting's gone well. Everything's gone well, so the future's very bright.
Big run up the middle, 10, almost 12 yards on the play. McAnderson, we're going to let you go. Thank you so much for coming by. We have had an opportunity to visit with the Big 12 coaches around the league. The Big 12 is very important to ESPN because Big Mondays and now also on Wednesdays and Saturday schedules. So we look forward to seeing you this season.
Hey, I'm glad to be part of it, and we'll see you soon.
Okay, great. Best of luck to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
That running play was good for the first down. So Kansas with a relentless drive here following the turnover, hoping that they can turn it into points. The interception just a moment ago. Pass right over the middle, and the ball almost picked off. And boy, that was a nice job right there by Smart. It's like that play had been run earlier using the size of Marcus Henry. He just stepped into the passing lane, didn't he?
Well, and Smart's a guy who they weren't really expecting to play too much at the line of scrimmage. They knew he was going to do a lot of special teams, but there was a suspension at middle linebacker, an injury at middle linebacker, and sure enough, Smart gets in there. And I think he surprised the coaches a little bit at how well he's played. Good job getting in the passing lane.
This time they have 4 wide receivers to the top of your screen. So keep an eye on Henry down on the bottom. Nope, they throw it to Meyer. Hit behind the line of scrimmage, and it's going to be a 3rd down and 10. That is an outstanding defensive job on the part of Chappelle Brown, a sophomore out of La Puente, California.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if they're trying to set this up for a throwback for a throw. That ball thrown, it looked to me backwards or maybe right there. And of course, Meyer, the backup quarterback, the former starter, they may be trying to set that up. But here you are, 3rd and about 11. And the way Meyer's been throwing, I'd be concerned about something like a post route from one of these 3 receivers down here headed for the end zone.
Well, let's see what Reesing comes up with. Looking, pumped it once. He's just going to have to throw this one. No, he did not throw it away, but it's going to be incomplete because the ball was caught out of bounds. I'll tell you, the young man is not what you would call a burner, but he buys a lot of time with some educated feet.
Absolutely. And give credit to Colorado. A quick change, the interception that was made on the drive by Justin Thornton, and Colorado, whenever they know it's a passing down, have done an excellent job in coverage.
Webb with a 35-yard attempt, obviously plenty of distance, and he knocks it home. And with that, the Jayhawks extend their lead to 13-7. Here's the interception that did it, as it was picked off, presented by Pioneer Kuro HD TV. Ron Franklin, Ed Cunningham, Jack Arute coming to you from a very excited and sold out Folsom Field in Boulder, Colorado. This is a big one. All of a sudden, the lead is back to 6 points, but obviously a touchdown and an extra point, and the Buffs can take the lead in this one again.
And the way that Todd Reesing was playing on that last drive, on the last 2 drives, I'm not so sure if you're Colorado, you can get away without getting something on the board on this drive.
This is Wheatley. And Wheatley is going to run into some pretty good coverage at the 25. Jack Arute.
Well, Cunningham, you were talking about the Hawkins situation here when he came here about changing the culture. I asked him yesterday, if you had to have a team that played perfectly or a team that played with their hair on fire, which would you take? He said, oh, without question. I want my guys to go out, even if they make mistakes, I want them to play with reckless abandon. He says, I want them with a chip on their shoulder. He said, I call it playing with your horns on. I've been watching him on the sidelines. He hasn't been rattled by being down. And like right now, I think this drive is time for the Colorado Buffaloes to put on those horns.
Okay, Jack. And one of the things that they have done a good job of today, besides moving the football, is to eat up a lot of the clock. Hawkins throws it. yards, actually to the 25. That's DuVray, and it's only going to be a gain of a couple. Mortensen there to make another tackle for the Jayhawks.
Well, it's interesting talking about changing the culture. When we were talking to Dan Hawkins yesterday, he said, listen, I have a lot of respect for Gary Barnett. He's a friend of mine, but the things that he had to deal with off the field, and it's like if you have a tragedy in your family, you kind of forget about the little things. You know, you let the kids keep their rooms messy. They can be a little late, but because of the stress that was on the program, a lot of the little things had kind of become less important, and they've had to kind of change that and get back to that. And you look at a guy like Hugh Charles, who's had to get back to that as well.
Here's Charles, breaks it to the outside. Another stiff arm, and he's going to have the first down. What a nice effort by Hugh Charles. 5'8", 190 pounds. We're not talking about a 230-pound guy, but just because of a good second and third effort, picked up the first down.
Well, he is the poster child for exactly what Dan Hawkins has been preaching since he got here last season from Boise State. They have challenged this young man, who may be the most talented player on the team. This guy has Sunday afternoon talent to play tougher. And if he doesn't use two different stiff arms on that run, he probably doesn't pick up the first down.
Right. No, you're exactly right. He was out of South Lake, Texas, played at Keller High School. Well, the tight end trying to help him out with a block, and defensively, boy, KU just all over the place. Talib, the first man that gets in there for the hit. A loss of about a yard, so it's going to be third down and 11. So both teams have used their trick plays today, but the one that was most devastatingly good was CU's fake by the quarterback, young Cody Hawkins, as though he had tripped and was fumbling the football, then straightened up. KU secondary relaxed. He's got a man wide open for the touchdown. Hawkins got a man wide open this time, right over the middle. That's Cody Crawford. And Crawford, who was out of Torrey Pines High School in San Diego, has 21 yards on the play.
Well, this all starts with protection. Hawkins was looking for the tight end, DeVray, coming across, and then he waited for his second read, Cody Crawford, to come open. Again, this is what Mark Helfrich, the offensive coordinator, was talking about, was don't try to force it. DeVray was not there. He waited for Crawford to come open late behind the tight end. That was good patience, and of course it started with a great pass protection that allowed that patience.
Byron Ellis into the ball game at tailback, number 27. He's a senior out of Culver City, California. He's a pre-med major. Got that pass complete, and there's Josh Smith again. It continued to work him more and more into the rotation. It is not a thing of him getting his feet wet anymore. This young man possesses a lot of talent, and I think more and more they're going to start turning him loose.
And a guy that missed some time in camp. 4 days he was in the hospital. He ran into a wall. Yeah, he turned backwards to try to catch a ball, ran into the wall. He had a bruised kidney. They thought it could be much worse than it was. So still working a little bit on that timing, because this young man, a true freshman, has tons of ability, and now he's starting to get in sync with Hawkins, the quarterback.
Yeah, some people who've been around this program a long time said that they've never seen anybody hit that end zone wall like that. That's Sumler. Nothing on the play, so in fact he may have lost a yard, so it'll be third down, and they need to take it inside the 35 to pick up the first.
Well, the one thing that Colorado has done is move a bunch of receivers and do reverse type things. And the time of possession for Colorado
was talking about
at this elevation.
That defense having to stay out there for a long time.
We haven't heard McClinton's name much here in the second half. He may be starting to tire out because he had a monster first half.
2:45 left in the third quarter. Here they come with pressure. Ball tipped at the line of scrimmage. And that's Jeff Wheeler, the sophomore out of Houston and Clear Lake. He is their speed rusher, their third down guy.
Well, and a lot of this, we have two under 6 feet quarterbacks in our game. And Wheeler he used his head that time. I told you this was a heady bunch. The most intelligent group that Bill Young's ever coached, but that ball comes out a little lower. But even at 6'5", I think Wheeler would have gotten that ball.
Yeah.
If Hawkins would have been 6'5", I should say.
Fourth time that the Buffaloes have had to punt today. you just joined us, Jayhawks lead at 13-7. Here's the left footer's boot. Got a man down there, and it takes a Colorado bounce. They're going to touch it dead at around the 5-yard line. And we're going to hold it right here. Jack Arute, what do you got for us?
Well, you know, every time you come to Colorado, they always talk about the elevation. You guys have been talking about it. I finally found one place here at Folsom Field where it is posted. Elevation, 5,334 feet, right in front of Kansas's locker room. One of the things I've noticed, though, fellas, watch the defense for KU. These extended drives, I don't think it's affected the offense for Kansas as much as it's affected the defense. Even though they didn't put points on the board, they're getting worn out, that Kansas D.
You know, Jack, that announcement is made at the beginning of every basketball game when they call the teams together to make the introductions, reminding the opposition, as that run is going to go for maybe a half-yard, and that's it. They remind the opposition how high they are above sea level.
And the way that Kansas, not only with their time of possession, but the way they play offense, they spread you out so far, as a lot of teams are doing now in college football. So on defense, you always hear coaches yell, pursue, pursue, pursue. All 11 guys have to run to the ball in case there's a fumble, or if the guy cuts back, they can make a tackle. And CU makes KU run all over the field, and if they can get the ball back, they may be able to get something out of that.
Todd Reesing looks over to the bench to pick up the play that his offensive coaches want him to run. Puts it in the stomach of Jake Sharp. And Jake will take it out across the 11-yard line, and now they're going to be looking at third down, and still about 5 or 6 yards for the first. Dizon making the tackle.
And if I'm Ron Collins, the defensive coordinator for Colorado right now, the way Reesing has been running and the way I've been covering, I would think maybe try to bring some pressure to the trips side, so to the left of Reesing, but keep somebody home in the middle, so in case he takes off, you can make the tackle.
Kansas 3 of 9 on third down conversions. They have missed their last 4. Reesing zings it, has it complete to Meyer, and Meyer will pick up the first down at the 20-yard line.
Well, you notice how good the hands are of Kerry Meyer, and that's most guys who play quarterback do have very good hands, and all he's going to do is just come sit down, get right over the line, makes a nice catch.
And he's a nice-sized target at 6'3", 220.
And this is a nice add to this offense to be able to get Kerry Meyer in the game and compete. He's a really good athlete.
Well, this is 3 catches for him now for 15 yards. Shovel pass. They get that one out to Jake Sharp. And a nice job defensively by number 94, Brandon Nicholas.
Let's take a look at the scores from around the conference. Oklahoma, who was challenged by Iowa State, made a big interception in the end zone. Texas runs away. A&M, both of those teams.
A lot of resolve right there by A&M. They got blitzed last week out on the South Plain in Lubbock by Texas Tech. They just scored 36 points today.
And in the north, the big one, of course, Missouri. Close loss to Oklahoma last week, bounces back, and a little bit of a shocker to me that they were able to blow out Texas Tech, held Texas Tech to 10 points. Missouri's defense really coming on.
Pitches the ball back to Sharp. Hit behind the line of scrimmage. That'll be the final play of the third quarter. Leading the attack, Dizon. Boy, I'll tell you, he has really stepped it up because he's been able to rest a lot more in this third quarter. 13-7. The Jayhawks lead it as we head to the final 15. Can they hold on? Welcome back to ESPN College Football Primetime, presented by Hampton Hotels. So we're all set for the final quarter. The last 15 minutes and this crowd coming to life. For Kansas, they have a third down. They need to take the ball to the 30-yard line or punt the ball back to the Buffaloes. Reesing. They run him back up into the pocket. Now he's got an alley. 25-30, 35, gets out of bounds, and he will have the first down plus about 8 more yards. Put a mark by that one as well.
Unbelievable.
Daniel Dykes is the man who forced him out.
And how many times have we seen this afternoon when Colorado had perfect protection, or excuse me, had perfect coverage down the field, but nobody's home? And I suggested earlier in the game to maybe have a spy, and Dizon was that spy, but he came up into the line of scrimmage. He's got to stay back and kind of float and mirror the quarterback. That's a breakdown by the senior linebacker.
Hands it off to McAnderson. Has 5, has 10. Counted off at 12 yards on the play. Let's check in again with Jackaroo.
When I watched that conversion by Reesing, it brought to mind a conversation I had with Mark Mangino this morning. I said, how does a kid from Austin, Texas, escape the purview of Texas schools? He said, Jack, it's quite simple, 5'11". He said, we didn't even look at his size. He said, because one thing I've learned is they don't make a tape measure to measure a player's heart.
Boy, whereas it never more true than with this young man. Todd has really taken a giant step to becoming an outstanding quarterback in Division I football. This time, no place to go for McAnderson. Alonzo Barrett there defensively.
Sometimes I think too much is put on height for quarterbacks. Of course, everyone remembers Doug Flutie, but if you look across college football, and in this conference alone, Chase Daniel, I think he may be an actual legit 6 foot. We've done their games, and he looks right at about 6 feet. But Todd Reesing and Cody Hawkins here today. Reesing really a little under 5'11", and of course Matt Grothe. All of those guys are pretty good, and so you wonder if schools start to think, well, you know, okay, they may not be 6'2", 6'3", but you look at a guy like Reesing play. How can you not recruit a young man like this?
Middle screen. This is Sharp, and Jake will take it inside of the 45 to the 43. Going to be a 3rd down.
It was funny talking to Cody Hawkins, the 5'11" quarterback for Colorado. Remember last year, Todd Reesing came off the bench to spark the win for Colorado, and Cody Hawkins went up to him after the game and said, I had him by an inch and a half at least.
Watch what happens on the check with me when he looks over at the bench. There are 3 people standing there, the 2 in the red shirt and a backup quarterback. He's already gotten the play. Now he's looking back over, and let's get a shot of him. Well, they've already given the signals in. But what's impossible to tell is which one is live and which one is just a decoy. Pass thrown complete inside the 30-yard line and out of bounds at the 26. Dexter Fields. 17 yards.
Well, and you talk about the size of Todd Reesing's heart, but it's the leadership that is also immeasurable. And this is just a fantastic throw by Reesing, but if you go back to that scramble, pick up the 1st down, and instead of sending the defense back on the field, that defense that was starting to get tuckered out there in the 3rd quarter has more time to rest.
Yes, you saw the signals there. 11th play of the drive started back at the 6th, and Jake Sharp is now being pushed back, but he'll get credit for a gain of almost 4 yards as Dizon, who really has come alive in the 2nd half, made the tackle for the Colorado Buffaloes.
And it feels to me like Colorado's defense is starting to get a little tuckered out. Look at the hands on the hips, and it's the hands when they're tucked under. You know a guy's super tired. He can't even put his hands all the way out and put them on those love handles. He's got to kind of just lay them back there. That means somebody's really tired.
Play is in. Reesing steps forward. Tells his center, another interior lineman, and they'll put it in the stomach of Jack Sharp. Big opening inside the 15. He's down to the 11-yard line. Daniel Dykes puts a stop on him. It'll be 1st and 10 for the Kansas Jayhawks.
And the defensive line for Colorado that was doing such a good job earlier in the game, now they're not able to get off blocks. They used to have an offensive line coach who said late in the game, they become like magnets. They start to stick to you, and that's exactly what's happening for Colorado defensively. They're starting to stick to blocks, and Sharp with his speed's just running right by them.
So it's 1st down. Jayhawks lead it 13-7. We're about to go under 11 minutes to play in our ball game. Reesing, shovel pass, hit immediately is Sharp, and there's Brandon Nicholas. transfer from Notre Dame, was Johnny on the spot right there, making a huge tackle and stopping that play for a loss. It's now going to be second down, and what does that show? About 14 yards, isn't it?
Getting close to 6 minutes on this drive. And Nicholas, who looked really tired to play before, comes up with a big one. But I would think something along the same lines, maybe a wide receiver screen down here and try to cut this first down distance in half.
Racing, three-man rush, plenty of time, got him now, complete at the 4-yard line. That's Marcus Henry, and here's where his size just comes up gigantic.
And you cannot throw that ball any better if you're racing low and outside, because the defender was on the top. And what an excellent job by the receiver going down, catching the ball with his hands. Look at the break, comes out. Listen, you cannot fault the defender, Terrence Wheatley. He can't cover that any better. It's just a great throw and a great catch.
If you cover it better, it's going to be pass interference.
Yes.
15th play of the drive coming up.
They're going to get a timeout, and things looked like they didn't know what personnel they liked, and this is the right decision. Don't try to rush one. This is too big of a down.
So we'll take a timeout. 10:27 left in our ball game. Jayhawks 13-7, and they are threatening again. That's one of the stamps that Tommy Tuberville has really left his mark on that lead. He's had so many upsets of top, teams that are in the top 10. Reesing rolls the pocket, throws back wide open, touchdown, and there's Derek Fine, the tight end.
In Kansas, looks like they're going to go for 2, which is the right move here. You want to make it 2 touchdowns, but you cannot draw up a play any better than that. Derek Fine was lined up in the front of that little bunch trips to the left, and Reese came running to that side, and he just got lost in the traffic and busted out the other side. What a great play call by Ed Warner, the offensive coordinator.
It was, and Reese was perfect on that drive. Did not have an incomplete pass. I think 7 of 7 for him. So here they go for 2 points, trying to make it a 21-7 ball game. Goodness, what a hit at the 2-yard line. That's Jordan Dyson. Oh my goodness, he really put the lumber on.
Just waited for a half a second too long. He thought about it, and then took off. But what a masterful drive. Dyson and Smart both getting there about the same time to stop that. But you're still 2 touchdowns ahead. Now, of course, 2 touchdowns, 2 extra points. Even 1 extra point, Colorado wins. But the way that you've been playing defense today, and also, I can't stress enough, getting that first down and kept this drive going on that 3rd and long when they were down on about the minus 20-yard line. What an excellent job by Fine. Sometimes you get caught up in that, you may fall down. Did a good job of finding a way to get open, but it was that 3rd down run by Reesing that kept it alive. And now the Jayhawk defense goes back out with tons of rest. If he wouldn't have converted that, I think this ball game would have been headed in a totally different direction.
Well, that's the longest KU touchdown drive of the season. 15 plays, 94 yards. They use up 7 minutes and 8 seconds.
Couldn't have come at a better time for Kansas.
No.
Their defense was starting to look a little worn out.
Leb's kick 1 yard deep. This is Wheatley. Well, let's take a look at the All-State BCS standings.
And Ohio State gets away with a close one against Michigan State, but that won't hurt them because Michigan State a good team, and with what's been happening to number 1 and number 2 all year, South Florida, of course, going to jump who knows how far down. I hope not too much. I still think that's a really good club. And Boston College sitting there idle, depending on what happens with LSU. If LSU has a good game tonight and let's say wins by a large margin, I think they may leapfrog Boston College and go to number 2.
I'd be surprised if they had a large margin.
I agree. I do agree with that.
I can't see that happening. Got a man wide open. It's Josh Smith, and here we go. The young man I was talking about, that it looks as though they're about to totally take the wraps off of him. And right there, they used him on a huge play, and there were 3 defenders around him. 28 yards.
It's the speed of Smith. He's got the best pure speed. What a nice route by a freshman. Set up like he was breaking to the inside and breaks right back out to the outside, working one-on-one on Chris Harris, another true freshman, and spun him right around. It looks like Josh Smith is starting to get a feel for running routes and timing and things like that.
Now Celestine, another accomplished freshman, checks into the lineup, number 5. The net ball tipped at the line of scrimmage. And let's go down to Jack Carew.
You know, Ron, I tend to lean towards you. With all due respect to EC up there, he spoke like maybe he was a closet Jesuit Notre Dame fan. There is another Jesuit school. Number 3, Boston College, deserves, when the BCS is announced tomorrow, to move to number 2, regardless of what happens to LSU. How's that, guys?
Yeah. That's what's fun about this time of the year. I think where Ron's biggest point that's true is I don't think LSU, if they even win, is going to be able to blow out Auburn. I think Auburn may have a chance to win that game, but
I do too.
It's going to be a tough task for Boston College to overcome if LSU does get a big win tonight, I think.
Hawkins' ball is tipped and almost intercepted by Talib.
What an excellent job by Talib. In zone coverage, he's underneath, and watch, he'll just continue to read the quarterback and back up because he knows they've got a combination route on that side. He sees that and just starts to back up. Boy, that's excellent recognition by Talib. Knowing that there was another route over the top, willing to maybe give up the underneath route to go make a play on the ball. That's good aggressive ball.
Ellis is going to go to around the 42-yard line. A few scattered boos on 3rd down. Well, so the crowd wanted something a little more wide open.
Right, but they were going to go for it on 4th. At this stage of the game, down 2 touchdowns, Dan Hawkins knows that they're going to go for it. So take call a play that the defense doesn't expect. I don't dislike that call at all, knowing that you're going to go for it on 4th down.
By the way, on that play Talib made a moment ago, you go back and look at it, Justin Thornton, I think, would have had an interception if he hadn't tipped the ball. I think he had good enough position.
I think you're right.
On the wide receiver. Boy, with the blitz, Hawkins gets taken out of the play, and I mean knocked down hard by Mortensen as the ball was delivered. And I'll tell you, the young fellow was lucky to be able to just hop right back up.
And Kendrick Harper made an excellent play on the ball. Kept his backside hand off of the receiver, came over and knocked that ball down.
Timeout, 8:58 left in our ball game, and it's Kansas 19 and Colorado 7. So we are back. The sun has hidden behind the mountains, and it's a beautiful evening. What a nice day here in Boulder, and particularly on the eve of what the weathercasters are saying could be a really difficult day tomorrow. They're talking about in the western portions of Colorado at least 13 inches of snow. Well, still churning those legs, and McAnderson will take it for the 1st down. Now, time to talk strategy, presented by Charles Schwab.
Well, let's look at the touchdown to Derek Fine. What a great play. There's Fine lined up a little away from the line of scrimmage, and he actually goes in and throws a block. And as Reesing runs this way, watch all of the defenders start to slide with him, and Fine slips out. Nobody is home. What an excellent job of calling that. And it just couldn't have set it up any better, and it was a good job by Fine of selling the fake as well.
Well, both quarterbacks now have sold touchdown plays on really nice ball handling situations.
Yeah, I've got a little bonus trivia question, and it relates to what we were just talking about. Who was the quarterback for Northwestern in 1982 when they stopped the longest ever Division I-A losing streak? It was Charles Schwab's son, Sandy Schwab, who was a freshman on that team. Wow. Yeah. He was 8 for his first 8. They went up 21-0 and beat Northern Illinois. And that record still stands. 34 in a row they had lost.
Jack, did you know that?
Of course.
Second down and 9. And they give it to the big fellow again, and it is Brandon McAnderson inside the 40 to about the 39.5-yard line. Brad Jones is there to make the stop. Now that clock, if you're Colorado, has to seem as though it has really started to speed up, because the difficulty that the KU defense appeared to be having, now the shoe's on the other foot. And let's hope that the Colorado defense is not about to do what that lady's doing, and that is just take a siesta right here at the...
They're awfully tired, it looks like.
Sharp does a good job of picking up the blitz. Racing all the time in the world. And just a bit too long for Marcus Henry. And Henry, again, this is an ad lib. His route was much shorter, and then he released and took off.
Well, and it was interesting because Henry, when he went to take off, he took one step like he was going to go for it, and then he actually slowed down for a second. And Reesing saw him start to head out and let him just a little too much. And I think they're going to look at film, and Henry's going to realize, you know, if you commit to go long, just go. Yeah, when your quarterback sees you, just take off. Don't stop.
Well, here's the punt. McBride is the deep man. Pooch kick, very high, not real long. And was it touched? I don't think so. They're going to say touchback. Very close to touching the ball was one of the KU specialists. Let's take a timeout. 7 minutes exactly left in our ball game, and it's the Jayhawks 19-7.
But they run at NASCAR, and so it gets a little physical at times.
Hawkins drills that pass complete to the 27-yard line to McKnight.
Well, in Colorado in a place now at 6:49. Well, they're going to go ahead and huddle, which I thought we'd see a hurry-up scenario here, because you think you want to get down there. If you're going to get points in 2 or 3 minutes, then you may have the chance to kick it off instead of an onside, but they're deciding to huddle.
Timeout. Kansas.
Kansas calls a full timeout. 6:24 left in our ball game, and it's the Jayhawks 19-7. Now here is our Good Hands flashback presented by Allstate.
Well, not a horrible snap by Cale Anderson, kind of a high fastball, but Kyle Tucker, if that ball went another quarter inch, I don't think he catches it. He caught the last possible part of that ball. He was past the last stripe when he got a hold of it. And good job by Scott Webb, too. Slowing down for half a step and still getting up a long field goal.
Yeah, had plenty enough leg in it to kick it with some distance to spare. Hawkins finds a man, throws it complete. That's close to the first down. I don't know if he has it or not. It's Byron Ellis.
Well, they spotted it right on it, so they are going to give it to him. And for Colorado, good news that the clock stops, but back into that huddle. Good slide throw by Hawkins. You know, there was a good battle going on here with Nick Nelson, a junior college transfer for the starting job. Bernard Jackson, the starter from last year, having some off-field struggles, so not with the team right now.
Hawkins under pressure, and he dumps it out and overthrew Ellis. And the man who, it was Borson. Russell Borson was the man who would just simply not give up, and almost dropped him for another sack.
Of course, going back to Cody Hawkins being Dan Hawkins' son. Of course, everyone wants to think is there favoritism, and even Nick Nelson, the backup quarterback who came in from a junior college, said no, that's not the case. Cody Hawkins was more ready to be the quarterback. He moved the team more consistently through training camp, and the job belonged to him.
I asked him yesterday the difference between the conversations with his dad as a dad and with his dad as the coach, and he said, well, there's worlds of difference. And he said, I can understand. He don't take it personally. Straight up the middle with this run, about 3.5 yards to Byron Ellis. Wheeler who has just come back into the ball game at defensive end for KU, was there to make the tackle. And now some precious seconds are ticking off that clock as they look at a third down. They need to take it about a half a yard across the 40-yard line.
Well, and you're definitely going to go for it on fourth down. And Kansas has not been playing as deep as I would suspect them. Their safeties right now only about 10 or 11 yards from the line of scrimmage. Maybe you try to throw one over the top here because you know you're going for it on fourth.
Hawkins got him in. That's complete. That's DeVray. And DeVray will not only will have the first down, he'll move the sticks, and they'll have an extra 10 yards. Gain of 16.
And DeVray now with 6 catches on the game. Weren't even sure if he was going to be able to play. Good job by the young quarterback shuffling up into the pocket. And DeVray is a welcome addition back after battling through some concussion issues. You can see why they need him.
Yeah, he's a big target also at 6'5", 246 pounds. But had to miss 2 games because of concussions.
Now we got a procedure.
False start on the offense. Number 5, 5-yard penalty. Still first down.
And let's go to Reese Davis for a SportsCenter 30 at 30 update.
Your Auburn LSU, stay current ESPN News.
All right, Reese. Pass in the flat. That one is caught immediately by Celestine. And Celestine, that's a good tackle because it appeared as though he was going to have the first down. And a timeout called immediately by Colorado. Well, the last time that Kansas won here at Folsom Field, 1995, first quarter. Jayhawks block a Buffalo punt. Manolito Jones takes it back 31 yards, and Kansas goes up 9-0 early. Then the fourth quarter, this is Hindley taking a handoff. He goes 43 yards, putting the Jayhawks up 35-24, and the final score was 40-24. That is the last time that they won here at Folsom, and you have to go back to 1995, so 12 years ago.
And that was the last time that they started the season 7-0. And I had to do some research to find out the last time that Kansas won a conference championship, and it was when John Riggins was their leading rusher in 1968, and they tied for first in the old Big 8 conference. So it's been a long time around Lawrence, Kansas since they've had some championship football. They've had plenty of basketball, but now we're starting to see it on the gridiron a little bit.
Well, like the tease we started the day with said, if they keep playing this way, they're going to have more than new hoops hardware. They're going to have some football hardware. Deep over the middle, got it complete to DeVray. And it'll be a first down at the 32-yard line of KU.
Well, CU used a timeout there, and I wonder if it was so they could get their hurry up ready to go, because if they got things moving, they probably wouldn't have to use that timeout, and that's exactly what they did. They took that timeout, and now they're going to start going into the hurry up. Felt like they should have done this a little earlier, but they're still, with 4:30 left, get a quick one, and then maybe an onside kick and see if you can't pull this one out.
Blitz coming up the middle, picked up for the moment. Pass. He's hit on the play, and it's going to be too short. Colorado fans wanted interference against Chris Harris. Patrick Williams asking for a flag as well, and there will be none.
There was an awful lot of contact down that way, but I think it may have been both guys a little bit. Well, there's nothing. The crowd can cry all they want for a call, but Chris Harris did not do anything to impede Mr. Williams.
Ninth play of the drive coming up. It's all started back at the 20-yard line. Blitz again. Takeoff route near sideline, caught by Patrick Williams. It'll be a 1st and goal, Colorado.
What an excellent job by Patrick Williams reading this ball. He saw it the whole way. The defender never got his head around, and Williams, who's been battling drops, battled him last year, battled him some this year, made an excellent play on the ball. Darryl Stuckey, the safety coming over, he has his head around, but he never adjusted his route. And Williams just made a better play on the ball, and you've got to feel good for a guy who works as hard as Williams in practice, does all the extra things, but just couldn't get those drops out of his system, goes up and makes a nice play.
Celestine very, very wide to the left at the very top of your picture. They throw it back into the short side of the field. Diving for the end zone. Did he get it? Yes. Touchdown, Colorado. It's Byron Ellis. Rivera had a shot at him and couldn't hold on.
That was a heck of an effort. Looked to me like Ellis, who looks a little gimpy coming off the field. Looks like Rivera was going to be able to get him out of bounds.
Yeah, you thought right there. Had the angle on him, but...
And that right foot was awful close, but definitely was not out of bounds. And they may review it, but boy, that look there looked to me like...
being reviewed.
As they should, but I didn't see his foot go out of bounds. It looked to me like Ellis was able to keep that foot in the field of play. Now, the question becomes, if you're Colorado, do you onside kick it? I think you do.
Oh, yeah.
Because Kansas, even though you have a couple of timeouts left, Kansas just went all the way, just pushed you down the field last time.
As good as the KU offense has looked, particularly in the second half, well, I don't think there's any question. You got to go ahead and onside kick. They're very capable of picking up a couple of first downs.
Right as he goes, it's this next right foot, right there. I don't think he was out.
Ruling on the field is confirmed.
Good job. Yeah. But I think it was close enough, Ron, to take a look. I mean, it was maybe one blade of grass between his foot and that paint. But I agree that they should have taken a quick look just to make sure.
Eberhard with the extra point attempt. Trying to make it a 5-point ball game. And he does. So now the plot thickens. And let's check in again with Reese Davis. Reese.
All right, Ron, we're underway on ABC, Michigan and Illinois. Mike Hartson's streak closed. The nation's leading rusher not playing in this game. Illinois jumped on top 7-0. Early touchdown pass from Juice Williams. And a moment ago, as you see Juice firing incomplete there, Michigan just had to walk Chad Henne to the locker room to check on him. On ESPN2, Maryland has a lead over Virginia. The Cavaliers undefeated in ACC play. That game is in the first quarter. Keep an eye on everything for you. And, of course, Auburn and LSU coming up in a bit.
All right, Reese. We look up at the clock here. 3:42 left in our ball game. Only a 5-point lead. So,
and Colorado this season on onside kicks is 0 for 1. And since 1999, they're 0 for 8. So things have not gone very well for Colorado in recent history for onside kicks. And the key.
But this is a new coaching staff.
Yeah. Good point. And the key is, if you're going to, you got to get it up in the air soon. I don't like when guys go and they try to dribble and hope it catches an edge and jumps. If you're going to do it, and although they're not lined up, Kansas has their hands team in. They have all the guys up front, but it doesn't. Colorado is not lined up like they're going to do an onside. I'd be shocked if they don't try something here.
The deepest man for KU, and he is only dropped back to just inside the 15-yard line. Here comes the boot. And Herford will go back and get it. It's a 7-yard line. At the 20, in fact, he won't make the 20. Now we'll see if that decision comes back to bite them. The Buffaloes do have 2 timeouts left. Jayhawks have 1, but at this juncture, they shouldn't be interested in having to call that timeout.
Well, and Kansas has to do something to make them call it. Now, you've got to figure Colorado's going to load the box on defense. They're going to have 1, if not 2 extra men in there. So you may have to throw it, but if you throw it as a screen, something very easy, and keep the clock going. You've got to get those timeouts out of Colorado's hip pocket.
3:36 left. Sharp hit behind the line of scrimmage, and you see him securing the football because he got tackled inside the 15-yard line. Nicholas, Brandon Nicholas.
And now Colorado does not take the timeout. Actually, they did. Sometimes you'll wait till after the first down because you have 2. You want to go second and third down, but they go ahead and use that timeout.
Well, the ranked undefeated teams who lost in Boulder since 1989, Oklahoma, obviously earlier this year.
Well, and this one hurts me rather personally, Ron. I came in here with the 12th rate Washington Huskies. We had 1st and goal on the 7 with about 40 seconds left, 4 drop balls, and we walked out here with a loss. Chance to win it. Tough place.
Well, this crowd really making a lot of noise right now. Reesing off balance on the throw, throws it away. It'll be 3rd down. That stops the clock. 3:26 left.
And that call right there saves Colorado a timeout. They were trying to get one. They had one-on-one coverage because of the blitz, but the blitz got there. And now Kansas, instead of doing something simple so that they would have cost that timeout, they let Colorado hold it.
That was Ryan Walters, number 15, on the blitz, who came at a relentless pace. And Reesing could not juke him in any way.
And now you know that Colorado's going to play coverage, so you've got to run a layered route to the 2 receiver side to try to get someone beyond the sticks on a corner type route.
Reesing, he's going to run. Design play. 21-yard line. 4th down.
Well, and Colorado may choose, and it looks like they are, to not use that timeout so that they can have it for their offense. That was not good clock management by Colorado. That 2nd down really hurt them and allows Colorado to get the ball back with good time and a timeout to use.
25-second clock has not even started yet. Just now whistled in. And the KU bench is trying to signal them. They're pointing at the clock. They're saying, don't snap the ball. 13 seconds, down to 12, down to 11, now 10. Now 5 seconds left on the play clock. High, booming spiral. From the 35-yard line, McBride is hit and pushed back. And there was a flag down at the 15-yard line.
Well, this ball was going to be blocked.
Holding. Number 36 for the offense. At the distance to the goal. Repeat 4th down.
Jimmy Smith was going to block this kick. And it was a smart hold. Watch the hold right inside here. Jimmy Smith makes a great move and gets inside his blocker. And it had to hold. Absolutely had to hold, or Jimmy Smith goes and takes that ball right off the foot of the punter. And field position just totally changed. Whoa. Kansas State went backwards on a couple of plays. They threw a ball and saved a timeout for Colorado. Actually saved 2 because Colorado now has one. They came into this drive with 2 with that incomplete pass, and now having to back up even further because of the hold. And if I'm Colorado, I'd come after the ball again.
And the penalty being stepped off where the reception and the end of the play occurred.
Post-kick infraction. The ball was kicked, so you can take it on
the hold after it. That's got to be it.
Yeah. The kick. There will be a 10-yard penalty, half the distance, free kick, 4th down.
Okay.
Now they're taking it back.
No, I thought they were doing the same thing, which would have been a post-kick infraction. And it was close. It was very close that the hold on Kansas may have happened post-kick, but obviously not. Well, this game feels a lot like Oklahoma, doesn't it? It looked like Colorado didn't have a chance in that game in the second half, and they just hung around and got plays when they needed. They got a play from their defense when they needed. Kansas helped them out by throwing the ball there on second down, but they just hung in there.
Let's see if they get it. Nope. And a booming kick. Colorado
illegal substitution on the receiving chain. 5-yard penalty. Repeat 4th down.
And I'll tell you, the most unhappy guy on the field right now, Kyle Tucker, almost kicked that thing to the goal line.
Yeah, they're running off the field, and it's too late. If you're in around the hash mark, they'll call you for illegal substitution.
Gets it away, not nearly as good. End over end from the 40-yard line as McBride tries to reverse it, and now he's going to go right back down about where he caught the ball. Let's check in again with Reese Davis.
Offense to win tonight.
All right, Reese, we got 2 minutes and 16 seconds left in this one. And when you look at the graphic about that game coming up, number 17 against number 4, 5 of the last 7 meetings, the winner has gone to the SEC championship game. This situation right here, though, as Ed just explained, in a ball game that looked for all the world that CU had no chance to win it, and now all of a sudden they are in a position to win it. Hawkins, and he's going to be sacked at the 37 by Jeff Wheeler. Now here come flags in.
And Wheeler was hurt on the play, and this penalty looks like
there's no foul on the play. Timeout. Colorado.
And Colorado has
their
to
last
burn,
team charge timeout.
because of the sack, has to burn their timeout. And it's, take a look and see if there was, looks like a face mask to me, but they call it off. But now the timeout is really because they need a touchdown. If they needed a field goal, you'd really want that timeout, but not as big of a deal when you need a touchdown.
Ball is loose. They scramble for it at the 24-yard line.
Well, that was a fumbled snap. Sanders short-armed it.
Sanders wound up getting on the football. So we have 1:58 to play. Let's take one more look. Buffaloes with no more timeouts.
Well, it looked to me like he got that ball up. It really looked to me. It hit the lower hand. Take that back. It hit the lower hand of Cody Hawkins, but it was the nose guard. And who was there? James McClinton, who's had just a monster ball game at defensive tackle. And Sanders short-armed it a little bit because he knew he was going to have to get low and block a really good player in McClinton.
So 1:58 showing on the clock. 19-14. Kansas just inside of 2 minutes for keeping their perfect record alive and going to 7-0 on the season.
Well, the officials had said that the timeout before was not called because it was the penalty that was waved off, and so they had that one timeout still left. We thought it had been called, but apparently had not.
Hawkins, low pass from center, drills the ball, and it is intercepted. And he dropped it. Justin Thornton could not hold on. Obviously, he is upset with himself, but it looked as though he had it. And watch what happens. It comes right off his fingertips and falls to the ground.
And Colorado has done everything to get themselves back in the game, and now they're doing everything to try to get themselves out of the game. That snap at the feet of Cody Hawkins. He still threw it in a bad place. You can't put that on the center, but Sanders struggling right now at center, just getting the ball to the quarterback.
The play took up only 5 seconds. 1:53. It's 4th down. Steps up to throw. Has a man there. In and out of his hands. That's Josh Smith.
That ball looked like it was catchable.
And the Buffaloes run out of downs. And with 1:46 on the clock, looks as though that they're about to run out of time against these Jayhawks from Lawrence, Kansas.
Harris, he short-armed it. It looked to me like Smith felt the safety coming over there. He short-armed it just a little bit. The safety coming over the top. I think he may have caught him out of the corner of his eye. And now with no timeouts, Kansas is going to be able to burn out a minute 46.
And let's go down to Jackaroo as Reesing takes a knee.
Well, there's no question that the Jayhawks did not get rattled today. And one of the things that they may point back to is an off-season idea by their coach, Mark Mangino, to build confidence. What they did is they had a blind draw. They matched everybody up into 8 teams. They went bowling. They went and talked about classes, off-season conditions. They all gained points. The winning team received a steak dinner. The losing teams all got peanut butter and jelly in the same dining hall that night. The idea was to get these players to understand whether you play offense, defense, or special teams, you have to turn one to the other for support.
Well, and they should be serving steak on the plane ride home. This was a tough game. Colorado, a talented team, still trying to kind of get over that hump in Dan Hawkins' second year. But now Kansas, coming into the season, Missouri and Nebraska were the 2 favorites in the Big 12 North. Now, I think you have to think of Kansas and Missouri as the favorites. The key to this schedule, Oklahoma and Texas are not on there. And Missouri with a huge win today against Texas Tech. You get a feeling those 2 teams headed for Kansas City and Arrowhead Stadium Thanksgiving Saturday might be the winner may be the team going to the Big 12 championship.
Reesing will take a knee. And you know, that game is totally sold out at Arrowhead. And some people fussed about that because it was to have been in Lawrence. But I think the athletic director there, it's not his first rodeo. And I think what he knows he's got coming up right there is going to be a just huge showdown situation.
Well, and the one thing that Coach Mangino told his players, this is what you've worked for. We did all the offseason conditioning and team unity stuff. Don't be surprised. This is what you have worked for.
So once again, our final score is the Jayhawks 19 and the Buffaloes 14. For more on today's game, tune into ESPN News for a post-game extra. For Ed Cunningham and Jack Arute, I'm Ron Franklin saying so long from Boulder, Colorado. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. Now let's join Reese Davis, Lou Holtz, and Mark May in our studio. Gentlemen.
This is College Football Scoreboard, presented